The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Talladega Superspeedway, LSRTV, happy to be with you to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series on iRacing Live, where tonight we head into what is the 17th event on this season championship, and what it also means, it is the final race of the round of 12 in the playoffs, which means that there is plenty to talk about tonight, and we're happy that you're joining us for all of the action right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. As always, myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Rachel Whiteford, topside for you this evening. Downstairs, the lovely and talented Cisco Scaramuza, pushing the buttons and bringing us to you. And Rachel, it was a point that we talked about all regular season, and it was a point that we've been really hammering home in these last couple of weeks here, is that this championship picture, this playoff, is very different than the format that it is based off of, being in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. We don't go 12 drivers to 9 to 6 to 3. We go right from 12 to 6, and that just happens to happen after tonight. So we're going to start this race with 12 championship eligible drivers, and when we leave this one, there's only going to be 6 left. So there's big cuts coming up tonight. There is always that opportunity to win and automatically get into the next round, which also kind of puts an asterisk to any point scenarios we talk about.
So it is Evan, good evening, and yes, the heat really dials up after this round. This is your gear in round. This is a time when it really matters. These guys have to make sure this one happens. They need those positions, they need those points. So I have to see these guys can actually do something with this one, and if they can get what they need, otherwise this could be a done deal before it starts.
And if you've been tuned in for the course of this playoff, then you know that there are 2 drivers who are safe coming into tonight. Jason Altmans and Brandon Chaburko have wins in this round. Chaburko won the opener race of the round 3 weeks ago at Talladega, and Jason Altmans won the second race of the round 2 weeks ago from Daytona. They are locked into the championship 6. They have absolutely no worries. They could win this race. They could finish dead last. The result is not going to change. They are part of the round of 6. So in reality, we're not talking about 12 drivers fighting for 6 spots. In fact, we're talking about what's going to be 10 drivers, fighting for only 4 positions. As you talk about this championship standings, you've got Rodney Watford, Chris Bassini, 25 points above the cut line. Jorgensen in a pretty good spot, plus 21, and Corey Henry, final driver, in on points at plus 14. Then you've got Shane Bakichin 7th, 14 points back. Berger 19 points back at 8th. And Paul Servant 24 points back. From this point on, though, you're almost going to have to get a win. I think Derek Walker mathematically has a chance, but it's going to be nearly impossible to make up 32 points. That's the deficit that he sits at in 10th. And then Rod Flag is 43 back. Frank Basilio not even close at 93 points back. If you're not McEachin and Berger, maybe Paul Servant. But, you take a look at the grid and make it up 24 spots is a lengthy call. I think that those guys at the back are basically in a winner-go-home scenario, and everybody in the middle is kind of up in the air as far as you almost need the guys in front of you to have trouble. There is nobody in single-digit positions above or below the cut line. So it's going to take, I think, a mistake and then a great race by somebody to turn something around.
It certainly is, of course, and those points are very tight, are they not, Evan? Things are going to be tough going into this round. These guys have a lot to deal with, so we'll have to keep an eye on what happens. Of course, qualifying is nearly in the books here. 25 qualified out of 29 at the moment. So when those guys are done, I'm going to bring in those grid positions, and, well, starting position doesn't seem to matter most weeks. You know what? It might matter tonight.
And this will also be a little bit of a preview here tonight from Dega at what's going to be the second race of that round of 6. Again, we had an off week 1 week ago, but we are going straight through to the championship as of tonight. Next week, we're going to have the opening race of that top 6 round. It's going to be at Daytona Circuit 2007. We'll go race it on the 16th once again here from Talladega, and we will finish this championship off 3 weeks time from tonight on the 23rd from Daytona. That is what that round of 6 will look like, and you can see it at the bottom of the playoff picture as far as what that will entail. But tonight, we're going to go racing for a 17th time, and for 6 drivers, they are going to head home in the battle for a title. With that being said, let's go trackside and take a look at your LSRTV starting grid for round number 17. Pole position in this one going to go to Rodney Watford, your championship leader, without a win into tonight. He got a 51.675. That beat out Chris Passini by 1/1000th of a second, who will join him on the front row in P2. Mark Jorgensen Jr., good car into practice. He backs it up in qualifying. With a good effort, he will start to the inside of row number 2 and 3rd. He'll be joined outside by P4 Ray Rittenauer, and Paul Servant, always so consistent in qualifying. That number 3 Oreos entry will start from 5th.
Well, starting in 6th place, outside our 3rd row, Derek Walker. He's really close to being a winner-in candidate. He has to get a good result here. Starting row number 4, Seth DeMerchant and Jason Altmans. Row number 5, Rod Flag, Brandon Chaburko.
Continuing into and outside of the top 10, now 11th position for Corey Henry. Scott Warren going to be joining him in 12th. Andrew Berger gets tonight's unlucky to a 13th starting position to DuPont Chevrolet. Looking for a good showing here tonight as he tries to get from below to above the cut line in search of what would be a record 5th championship if he were able to get it done this year. Robert Evans joining him back there in 14th. The best driver in practice earlier tonight, Brandon Cruz Monsivais, is 15th.
Certainly is. Starting in 16th place tonight, Shane McEachin. Behind him, Stan Harrington and Greg Hooks. Nathan Davies and Gary Champion, 19th and 20th.
Continuing on, these drivers putting down qualifying times into the 51.7s, but Kelly Dahl will start tonight 21st with Mike Thiel in 22nd. Daniel Holloway will start from 23rd. You've got Justin Levine who will start 24th, and Dwayne Cooper P25.
Behind them is Brandon Cattell, last qualifying position in 26th place. Non-qualifiers tonight, Ryan Pilland, Frank Basile III, and Glenn Hedrick rounding out your field in 29th place 7.
So that's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid. Let's remind the folks about the Talladega Superspeedway. It is the largest track on this Superspeedway Cup Series Championship, and alternating back and forth with Daytona and Talladega. In fact, after tonight, we will have one race at each different discipline of track. As noted, Daytona 07, back here to Talladega, and then the regular Daytona make up that final round. But this racetrack coming in at 2.66 miles in length, which means that in order to get to our 250 miles, it is a handful of laps less than what it takes down in Daytona Beach. Going to be 94 laps start to finish in tonight's contest. Turns 1 and 2 banked at 33 degrees. If you really want to talk technical, they say turn 3 is 32.4 and turn 4 is 32.5. I'm not sure who was the one that measured that, so we'll say it's 33 degrees and 4 stories of banking top to bottom in this race. And again, there's 2 drivers in the field here tonight who don't have a care in the world, Rachel, but there's some big names, as noted, 4-time champion Andrew Berger below the cut line. If those drivers already with a win-win, then they could take away that win and a ticket into the next round, so we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, we certainly will have it, of course, and, well, we can't really decide what's going to happen here, but there are some favourite picks, of course, as always, but as it stands, you never can choose in this series. We've had some fantastic results this season, and you know what? We're going to have another one tonight.
And we're so happy that you're joining us on a Friday night. It's big track racing, short track style, and we're happy that you're with us at LSRTV at iRacing Live. Pace car, get it ducked down and away. And number 7, Ronnie Wofford in control. You can follow the championship drivers around. You can see the banners on the top of those windshields are a bright green color, and you can also track them at the top of your screen. The American Ethanol green flag flies second to last time on the season, and final time on this round from Lincoln, Alabama. We are underway from Talladega, and a pretty good even start inside and outside as we get up to the gears for the first time off to 1 and 2.
Oh, big checkup right in the back, Evan. 3 wide, actually, back in your pack there. The rear of this field, some cars did not want to go at this early stage. Well, things just got shaken up just a little bit.
You expect the inside to be the place to be, and they are. I would say the top 15 or so drivers are still 2x2x2, but it definitely is a break down the back straightaway, maybe 3/5 of the way through this main pack, where you do see a separation, and would expect some of these guys obviously to break off into a couple packs. It is difficult to hold 29 cars in a lead pack. We've seen it happen. If you're going to see a conservative start and guys take it easy, sag back and maybe floor up a couple of different groups, if there's any restart on a night that it's going to happen, it would be the drop of the green flag. For the first time, Rodney Wofford, a pole sitter, was able to lead after lap number 1. So outside of the racetrack, the drivers who started on the outside, Passini, followed by Rittenauer, followed by Walker, followed by Chiburko, lead 4 drivers on the outside down the back for the second time tonight. Inside, though, starting to pull that advantage. It's just the shorter way around the track, and therefore the quicker way to be before the draft really kicks into effect. The inside plus 3 car lengths.
Yeah, it's a good start on the outside by those guys, Evan, but you're right, it just takes a little momentum to build up to keep the outside really pushing, and with Chiburko dropping back, leaving only 3, and Passini will bail out 2, leaving only Rittenauer second and Walker. They had a chance with 4 cars, but 2 of them they're going to drop back and probably fall in line here, ride for a few rounds, and we'll see what happens from this one. A bit of a nose out there by the 51 of Altman's. He took a look, but he decided the flavor wasn't to his liking. He pulls back in line. These guys are going to stay down low for now, just ride for a while, which could mean we could have a green flag stop heading our way.
We have seen many races this season that have not seen green flag pit stops, and we've also seen races that have. It's a little bit of how the strategy plays out, how aggressive guys want to be right off the bat. Again, I always recommend, if it's a 94-lap race, let's not junk the cars early on. But as noted, oftentimes that these drivers do have one quick repair. If you're not quite familiar with what that specifically means, and we just use the term quick repair fairly commonly, is the fact that if these guys go out there and wreck those cars, as always, they have an opportunity to come into the pit lane and get those cars repaired. But if the car's really torn up, sometimes you might have to be down there for over a half hour for damage repairs, especially if you lose an engine. One quick repair means essentially you've got a backup car sitting on the pit lane. If you get into an accident and you're damaged enough, you can go down, get a brand new car, get back out there. Once you use it, though, that is gone. Then any damage that your car suffers from that point on would have to be fixed that old-fashioned way as sitting down in the box. So that's how sometimes you're able to see people get into accidents early, fall to the back, play it smart, make charges late, and sometimes even win these races on that backup car. But I think that there are certain people in this race that want to take it easy and want to be protective. It's Wofford, Passini, Jorgensen, and Henry. Again, those 4 drivers in on points at the moment. 14 points is not a lot. That's the driver all the way at that final transfer spot, but it's not 2 or 3 points. You have to lose 14 positions to somebody, and the way that you do that is to get it into an accident. You're not going to lose that many unless you really lose touch with the lead pack, and all 12 of the drivers in the championship right now, championship caliber guys, I don't think that they're going to struggle with keeping pace over this race. So they want to take it easy. The guys below have to really have, as we noted earlier, something happen to the guys in front of them, and then there's another group that has to win. And I think that that's the group that's going to start to apply pressure, but I don't think that they really need to apply pressure with 89 laps to go. Got no problem with these guys riding single file, trying to get some laps underneath their belt. The top 10 single file that time by, still Wofford up front.
Yeah, you're going to see 2 different types of drivers in this race, Evan. You'll see the kind of guys who have that backup car and go, I'm good in the points. I'm going to drive so careful so that I finish this race with this backup car spare, just in case. You're going to see another half the field, or another half of the chase, I should say, who are like, well, I've got a backup car. Let's do this and see if we can make something happen. So we're going to see a real kind of mixing of the waters here, the hot and the cold coming together. We're going to have a thunderstorm in this race.
Did see a little bit of side-by-side action towards the tail end of this lead pack. A couple of drivers trying to get something going. It's spearheaded by the 10 of Rod Flag. 3 drivers on the outside, getting the push from the 22 of Brandon Chiburko and the 24 of Andrew Berger. I noted that Andrew Berger is a 4-time series champion, and ironically enough, if you probably looked back on these broadcasts and kind of saw who got the most airtime and who we talked about the most, it's probably not even the 24, but I think to an extent that is why he's been able to get so many championships, is because he keeps himself out of all of the chaos. The last 3 seasons, the guy who has won the championship has done it not for the first time, as the 88 of Jorgensen comes up, chops the nose up of the drivers on the outside, and Jorgensen wants an opportunity to lead. Jorgensen would be a driver looking for a first career championship, but season 11, Andrew Berger won his 3rd title. 2 seasons ago in season 12, Seth the Merchant won his 2nd, and then Andrew Berger got another one, his 4th, 1 season ago. So it hasn't been since Seth the Merchant in season 10 under the Superspeedway name that we saw a driver get a first-time champion. Plenty of candidates to get that filled field still in our chase grid into tonight, but again, we really don't know who's got a concrete chance until I was gonna say until we get to 5 laps to go and we can kind of get an idea on points, Rachel, but I have a feeling this race is going to be so crazy at 5 laps to go. Points are going to be the last thing on our mind at that moment.
Yeah, it certainly will. And you know what? We're seeing a very familiar sight here this season. We're seeing that number 88 car leading the outside lineup towards the front, 10 up flank behind him, and Chaburko in line. The 88 car, you know, Junior has been the class of this field this season. If he does not go for this championship and become one of our maybe final contenders for this, I will be very surprised. Mark Jorgensen Jr. has been flawless. He's been an absolute masterclass of Super Speedway racing. I think he has to be the bookies' favorite when it comes to the championship, but you know what? It's Super Speedway racing. Many things happen as the 12. Corey Henning goes sideways and round he goes. First caution will wave after a bit of a wobble. Gonna get a replay of that one, Evan.
Oh, and Big Chuck now barrel rolling down the back straightaway is the number 21 machine, who is destroyed. Glenn Hedrick was way behind the initial contact, but tried to get through. It did not work. That car was up in the air and flipping down the back straightaway. We'll take a second look at this one on the LSRTV replay. As noted, it all started with that 12 coming out of turn number 2. And again, things were relatively calm to this point. And there was that 2-wide action, and the 12 got a little bit loose out of turn number 2, and he pushed up into the 22. Chaburko, somebody who's known to pinch off for the corner, and I mean, Henry did push up and get into him, and the problem was the 12 tried to bring it back up the hill. I think he'd actually saved the Rachel, but when he came out the 87, who didn't lose speed, at that point had gotten up next to him, and when he tried to blend back in, turned himself across his nose. Those were the 2 drivers that blocked the track and ended up collecting the 21 and the 80, who came in there pretty hot. Looks like the 94 Basilia may have lost that engine as well.
Certainly is, yeah, and this is one of those things, when you see a guy going down low and he's got a bit of a wobble, you give him a break, you let him back in. He was lap 6 or 7, well, it was like lap 8 there, Evan, so there's no real reason to block somebody down on the low side and trap him down there, so you kind of put that one on the car behind, not giving him room to get back up again, which would have been expected, but I really feel for 21 if Hedrick comes into the accident, just is miles away, behind on the car. The car in front of him admittedly just swerves out of the way. He slows down. He taps it, puts him slightly into the wall, but he's unsighted. He comes flying in. He high-rates the speed and nothing to do. He tries to go for one direction. He just picks wrong. 2 choices and he got the wrong one. 50-50. He's going to regret that.
And now that he's probably going to have to go to a backup car, he hopes that if he gets stuck in another situation like that, the 50-50 odds work in his favor the next time through. Race leaders down pit road. They're Rodney Watford first in, but he's not going to be first off. Seth the Merchant absolutely flying off of the pit lane. And I think the 32 slid through the box and then backed it up, so he did not go with tires. So technically, it'll end up as a strategy call that puts the Merchant to the race lead. I think they made a last-second choice to not put on tires after he slid through the pit box, so he'll go fuel only, go to the race lead. However, Wofford did decide to go with 2 left-side tires, and that was a clean stop for the 7. First driver in, first driver out, who took tires, but he is going to end up losing a spot on track.
Yeah, it certainly is, but right now it's not going to be a huge problem at the front. These guys will do what they need to do, but we are in a position now, lap 11, so we had a caution earlier than I thought. I thought everyone was running nice and cool, nice and calm, so I thought we'd see green flag stops initially here, Evan, but we've kind of changed that one. We've gone a different direction here, so we've got a caution. You know what they breed? They breed cautions. Could this race turn into a carnage fest from this point forwards? Yes, it could. Depends on the driver's temperament, though. What will we see out of the blocks when the green flag drops?
Correct. We know that there's drivers who want to race 2x2. We saw everybody single file it out, thought, hey, maybe we're just going to ride around for a little bit. But then that faction towards the back half of the lead pack went topside and started trying to work. And evidently, it wasn't Chaburko's fault that the driver inside of him pushed up and got into his door. But if those drivers weren't on the outside, incident wouldn't have happened. So the question is, I noted off of that first restart, the calmest restart on the night is going to be the first one. They're only going to get a little bit more antsy from here. Do those drivers on the outside see this caution as an opportunity, really force the issue off for the green flag and stay up there on the outside? Or will we see what happened the first time and them kind of sag back first and then maybe try to group back up and then do something?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure we'll see a little bit of patience in this one. They've realized that the slightest mistake here can junk a lot of race cars. The initial boiling tempers have been calmed somewhat. Will this be the salt in the pan, or are we going to see someone drop some oil in instead?
Well, we're going to find out because the lights are out on top of the iRacing.com official pace car, so we are going to complete 12 laps as of the next time by and come around to take the green flag. Again, plenty of ways to go here tonight from Talladega, but you figure if you get one green flag run, 30 to 35 laps, that's a third of this race, a little bit more actually, than a third of this race gone. So all it takes is for, maybe guys back on a fifth or sixth row of the restart to really get checked up, and that would split the field in half to the point where, you've got maybe the top 8 or so break it away, and then a group of 5, and then a back group of 7 or so, and that's how these things run green. And that could happen at any moment, so you have to be up on the wheel. You cannot accept a restart as just kind of something nonchalant. It could be the first of many. Oftentimes, restarts will cause, obviously, cautions breed cautions, as the age-old saying goes. But as well, with that being said, this thing could go green from this point on to the end. We do not know, so you have to be up on the wheel.
Yeah, you certainly do have to be up on that wheel, and we'll see these guys do just that in a second. The first 4 here are formidable. Of course, we have the Merchant, Wofford, Jorgensen Jr. and Altmans. These guys can wheel it with the best behind them. It's Flag and it's Bassini. The pace car's going to head down pit road, Evan. All over you.
We'll see what the Merchant can do. He's got no fresh tires, but he's got just enough Sunoco race fuel to accompany everybody else. So let's see if tires are anything here at Talladega with 10 laps on him. American Ethanol, green flag and a fly as we go back underway. Putting the power down and up to third gear, headed for fourth. Just as we saw the first time, very tight up at the front of the field. In fact, this one probably tighter than the first one.
Certainly was. Very good start by the outside line. A great run they had there. Big run by Wofford, and also Altman's getting the good move forwards. Back there, Flag not quite as tight on that start. Also good run there by Berger in the 24, but behind him it's dropped back quite a bit. It's spread out, so it's 4 versus 5 at the moment, and on the inside always has advantage, but Jorgensen Jr. has dropped down. He's on the inside now, will be behind 32 of the Merchants. Giving him a good push here to end the first lap back green.
And you saw it on the right-hand side of your screen off for the restart. We were 3 wide coming to the green to back of the pack. That was the, not the 22 at Chaburko, which is an identical car, but that was the 21 at Glenn Hedrick. The drivers who may have just been coming off for the pit lane at the 1 to go did not get doubled up. That's just the way that the iRacing grid organizes them. So we had 2x2x2 throughout the majority of the field, but there was about 5-6 cars in line, single file on the inside. We talk so much about the accordion effect. Green flag comes out up front, race leader gets on the gas. You can't really get going at the back of the pack, deep about 10, 15 rows back at that same moment. You cannot pass drivers on the inside, but you can technically pass cars on the outside after the green, but before the start-finish line. The 21 pulled out to the right-hand side, and that's how he got that big run. It didn't pay off very much. A, he's basically back where he started, and B, he is a lap down. But that was Glenn Hedrick back there mixing things up. It was not a battle for position.
Yes, and he is, of course. And these guys are going to put this one quite tactically for now, because they've had some guys lose those backup cars. We talked about that earlier, Evan. That's an important piece, shall we say, in their chess set. You don't want to lose that too early, and some of these guys have done so. Most of them towards the back now, so we're going to see them filtering down to the bottom lane, just running patiently, I think. But some guys appear they've got a little to lose, so they want to take advantage of perhaps some calmed tempers to muscle their way forwards.
If there ever is such a thing here on a Friday nights. That second lane is now once again starting to form up. The 3 and the 7 and the 51, obviously losing some time off for the restart, giving the inside of the racetrack about a 3, going to be a 4-car advantage this time by as some sparks fly that time as they go through the trial. Also, the outside has the numbers. If the 51 can get up to him and you get Brandon Cruz-Monsivais, who's just a little bit further back of the 54, or maybe the 15 can jump up as well. Greg Hook's thinking about it, but Napa Chevrolet not committing, and he's kind of in no man's land down the back. He's on the inside and the outside. Finally, decides to go top.
So he can't make his mind up there, Evan, as he's moving around a bit, but yeah, number 3 is Savant up there, going to lead that charge towards the front. Behind him, the 7, the 15, Altmans, and I believe Monsivais back there in the 54 as well. 76 car joining into Scott Warren. Could see a good charge forming here towards the front. Is the front 5 on the low side just pulling away from the 18 a little bit too much. We're going champion. That might kill the momentum.
And momentum is basically all that you could rely on if you're on the outside of the racetrack. So that little bit of a check-up on the inside, you would think would have benefited the guys in front. But there's a big gap opened up between the 24 and the 18. Servant could have gone down if he wanted to. Not anymore, as the 18's going to suck back up to the back of the 24 DuPont Chevy Averter in front of him. But I think the fact that Servant did not even appear to have any intentions of thinking about going to the inside, that he's committed to the top, but they weren't able to get that extra help. I said if Monsivais was able to get up there and work with him, but the 54's dropped back a little bit. He's got Scott Warren behind him, but so there's enough drivers on the outside, but they're not all in line with each other, and that's why they're struggling.
Yeah, it's certainly in that sort of position now, Evan, but as it stands, things being a little bit on the calm side. That top side's broken down, as you mentioned, and this could be, I was looking at about lap 40 for the pits, which does shake up our future strategy, because then we're looking at, well, it's going to be 3 more stops from that point, and it makes it a really awkward one, because one of those will be a splash and dash if we have no further cautions, which, let's be honest, is unlikely.
We run right now with 26 drivers on the lead lap. Frank Basilius, number 94, appears to be out of this race. He came into tonight 12th on the chase grid, 94. In fact, his number points back out of the cut line. He needed a win to be able to advance. Frank Basilia, a champion from Season 6. It has been quite a many moons since he's been a champion in this series. It looks so good for this season, but it's not going to come together at the end of it all. He won the second to last race before the chase began, the playoffs, and it appears that he's now 9 laps down after being involved in an accident, and his championship hopes are going to come to an end. Other than him, Hedrick is 1 lap down in 27th, and Rittenauer is 2 laps down in 28th. So none of those drivers out of this race close enough that if they were able to get a yellow, quick wave around would get them right back into contest. But did want to let you know, Frank Basilia, his championship hopes are done.
Yeah, they certainly are, of course, and well, that initial incident, it caused a lot of guys to require getting hooked up and towed back to pit road before they could get the back of cars. This will cost them that lap, so a bunch of these guys not in a great position. Basilia third, though, he is well and truly out of this one, as you mentioned, Evan. The car has been retired. Right now, second down 2 laps there, and just held it behind the 41, actually, right now, of Brian Pilland, moved to the series there, who just was in the wrong place at the right time. Hedrick also down a lap. So those guys will watch this one. Nathan Davies, he's on pit road right now getting service on his own. So that's an unusual one.
Yeah, and you don't want to be out of cycle. You would much rather be with a group of cars. And not sure if the 36 did have damage. Again, he came down to the pit lane probably to get that damage fixed, and it locked him up, and I believe he got a speeding penalty and an unsafe entry, so he just now exits the box. So not only is the damage problem enough, not only is having to pit problem enough, but you also gave yourself a 15-second penalty. Now he's going to be way off for the lead lap by himself, and because Hendrick, who we were talking about, went to that third lane on the restarts, Glenn Hendrick is going to remain as the first driver 1 lap down. So he can't even rely on falling back to the lucky dog, because Davis is going to end up being behind Hedrick.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, Glenn Hedrick up there, not in a good spot for his race, but he does shuffle things up a tad. Oh, a bit of 3 wide there with some lap traffic up towards the front. One of those being, actually, no, it's not. It's the 10 of Rod Flag, who dropped back 3 wide on the outside there in the tri-oval. Heading to the rear, he smells trouble brewing. I think Rod Flag wants to keep himself in a safe spot here, Evan.
Well, Rod Flag's been somebody who has been known to drop back and get out of there when it does not look like a fun place to be, and you were starting to see, and again, I'm not sure that it's really the tires going off. You will see drivers come down. They'll alternate sets of 2, get the lefts, get the rights the next time by, but so tires are a factor to an extent, but they're not the same kind of factor that they would be at an intermediate or a short oval. So I think that when you start to see these cars moving up and down the hill, it's a little bit, I'll say, the tires, the fuel's starting to wear off, these cars getting really light, but it's also that slowly these guys are building confidence when they're running next to each other. One lap, they'll leave a whole car length between the guy on their inside, and then they'll slowly start to pinch down, kind of thinking that they figured out how that guy underneath them is going to be racing. And again, for the majority of these guys on track, they've been racing with each other for years. I think it goes without saying, as we noted, this is the 14th season of Superspeedway Cup Series action. These guys are very familiar with each other's driving styles, but it's plate track racing. Stuff can go wrong all the time, and I think Rod Flag thought that we might have been getting to that point. It was basically, by the way, about the same distance into that opening run when we saw our first and only accident tonight, Rachel, as we are at now. So I think the precautionary call for him is to back off of this one. Rod Flag 11th in the championship, 43 points below the cut line, needs a win to advance.
Yeah, he certainly does. And a couple of guys around in that position, that will be a tough order tonight. It's almost a Brad Keselowski 2015 situation here at Talladega, but it's still possible. A lot can happen as Altmans and Berg getting very close, as well as the 18 there and the 28 of McEachin getting very close. Champion there, McEachin, and a bit of, champions all over the place right now on the low side there, having an 18 car.
Yeah, Gary Champion's having a fantastic run in this race. The 18's had a couple of interesting moments on the inside. He is, in fact, the biggest mover in this race. Started 20th, runs in 70s, plus 13 positions. Kelly Dahl, who's right on his bumper, is going to tie that marker if he crosses the start-finish on in front of the Sirius XM28 on the outside. If he doesn't, he will be plus 13, or rather plus 12, having started 21st and running in 9th, and that's going to remain the case as of that time by. So the accident obviously helped a couple of those drivers get up for the back, but we're starting to see the outside line come back into play. Again, they had the numbers, but remember a couple laps ago, that 3, a Servant was leading the way. Now you've got the 76, the 28, and the 51, giving them a little bit of an extra boost, and they're starting to creep into the top 5. Eric Walker, who runs in 4th, just about next to him.
So it does get a bit shaky up there as guys fanning out on the top side, running up towards the wall. So one thing we've noticed in the past, Evan, is running this tight low line here. These guys can start to get very hot on the tires later run here as well. These things will get pretty slick, so it's worth keeping your eye on, because well, you can end up in not such a fantastic position here. If you do double stint tires, if we get a green flag stop, you might see some guys, some teams especially, choosing fuel only no tires, or just right sides perhaps. After 2 runs, it starts to get a little greasy, starts to get a little tough to keep it down coming out of the corner, because it doesn't quite want to settle, but at the same time, if you try and turn it too much, the back starts to go. So these guys might have a handful in their control if they choose to go off strategy at all. So 4 tires would be a safe call, but is it the fastest if we break up into green flag running?
And that's something that only time will tell. This lead pack is 15 cars deep, and we're basically side by side from the top to the bottom. Challenge for the race lead. Here comes Mark Jorgensen Jr. Yes, sir, the Nationwide Chevrolet 2P1 for the first time tonight after starting in 3rd spot. Is he clear enough to go to the inside? Yes, he does. And Zach the Merchant now in traffic. This will give an opportunity for Altmans to lead the outside, but see the 32, he's clear of the 51. Watch the Merchant. Does he go right back up and go on the attack? Answer is no, but so many times we see that 2nd or 3rd or even 4th driver on the bottom be the guy to jump up to the top side of the racetrack, and I don't think Zach the Merchant really wants to hang around P2 for that long. He would rather not be up somebody's bumper, overheating that engine. He'd like to be out in the clean air, so the 32 may make a move to the outside rather soon.
Yeah, things are certainly going to be an interesting state later on in this one, as it will be very difficult for these guys to really climb back up the order once we start to run down those laps. We're approaching 30 laps into this one, Evan. We're on 28 now, and I think we're approaching maybe 10 laps to go on this fuel run, so these guys will have to start thinking about the pits. Even now, it's going to be a factor. Who do I go with? Who am I around? What position am I in? Do I want to be up here on the outside lane? There's all a bit of a concertina there, pulling back near the exit of 3 into 4, as the 7 of Wolford drops to the apron to avoid contact, where they nearly went 4 wide.
26 had to go way up the hill to avoid that one. It was a big run at a 26, but pushed into the back of the 76, and he checked up, dove to the outside. There was some contact, and as you noted, gone to the apron of the racetrack was the 7 Chevrolet, trying to get away from it. That could have been bad. Good job of driving on everybody's behalf to be able to check up, recognize that problem. I think it was a big benefit that they were at the back of the lead pack, because they were able to check up and not get run over from some unsuspecting drivers still going full bore into the corner behind him. I feel like that, at least in some part, had to be a reason why we don't have any torn up race cars. It never hurts to have some help, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But if that was the front of the pack, they'd have all been dead.
It'd be a mess.
Everybody would have been dead. We'd have had a massacre on our hands. It would have been tonight's big one happening right here on lap number 29, because that needed the room, and they wouldn't have given them any. So back in the pack was fantastic for them. Look at this. They're all single file right now. Everyone's planning for that pit stop in about 10 laps' time. They're all single file down here. Everyone's shuffling to get a nice, easy riding spot. They want to see that green flag stop happen, so they're going to make arrangements for it. They're going to want to get in that position to make sure that can happen, and this is going to make sure it does, because when it's single file like this, we're very unlikely to see anything go wrong. I say that, something I'm sure will just explode for me.
I'll knock on wood for you.
Yeah.
But it also seems to be that when you have a close incident like that, and even though the guys up front didn't necessarily partake in it, they saw it in the rear from here, you almost get spooked again. It goes back to the notion that I mentioned earlier, how you build confidence over run, you start to get a little bit more aggressive. Once things almost break loose, you kind of set yourself straight for a moment and you take it easy, and then you kind of work yourself back into that comfort zone, and it did obviously kind of stunt the momentum of the drivers who are really pushing that outside lane from the back of the lead pack, and they're going to try to catch up. Servant holding about a 4-car length gap over McEachin. I don't think that's anything that McEachin and Champion and Dahl really need to be concerned about losing touch with the guys up front, but it will take them a little bit of time to get up front.
Yeah, certainly will, Evan, and I'm sure they'll have to keep an eye on that one as this one goes forwards. The race has still a lot of time to go with this one, so they'll need to be very careful.
Taking a look, there's several different groups of drivers as far as running on the lead pack. There's that, as I mentioned, behind the 3 is Servant. That was the lead pack, but now the secondary group is caught up, so we're back to a 15-driver lead pack. It goes all the way from Mark Jorgensen up front down to Scott Warren in 15th. But let's check in with 16th on the back. That is over 8.5 seconds off for the race lead, and it's led by Brandon Cattell. You've got Dwayne Cooper in 17th, Ryan Pilon at 18th, Rod Flag in 19th. Those drivers hanging way back, even further back. 12 seconds behind, 20th through 22nd, Greg Hooks, Brandon Chaburko, Mike Thiel. Those drivers may be back by design, but I don't think you want to be double-digit seconds back. That's something where if you're a few seconds back, 2 seconds, 3 seconds back or so, then if this race goes green, you're at least in a position where you have a fighting chance at battling back up to the guys in this lead pack in front of you. And if you're 12 seconds back, you're not catching up. It's just not going to happen. And with that being said, I think that those guys, therefore, kind of hoping that we get a caution at some point, although I agree that they wouldn't necessarily be completely against the idea of maybe going green for a little bit and then having that caution flag come out, let's say, with 20 laps to go or something to get themselves back into the mix. Because, again, 12 seconds back, you're safe. Nothing up front should, for any reason, collect you. But you cannot win this race. From 13 seconds back, there's drivers back there who need to win this race if they want to advance Rod Flag, most notably, as we talked about a little bit earlier. But after that opening caution flag, just after 10 laps were complete in this race, we've really been working on a good run to lap 34 right now under green flag conditions. And as noted, we're about 10 laps away, and maybe inside of the 10-lap window now of drivers coming down pit road, which may be why you didn't see DeMerchant fight right back to the outside of the racetrack when he got overtaken by Jorgensen. Since that point, the 88 has been able to go to the point, and now the one at Chris Piscini. Big bobble that time in turn number 4. He goes up the hill, and that was almost a little bit dicey. 3 wide now as the one drops to the back.
Yeah, so it does have the one being very careful. Oh, slow car! Oh my gosh, Wooford problems on the front stretch there. Nearly causing us a caution with some cars further back in this order. What happened to him?
Caution flag is going to come out. He was in the middle of this lead pack, and it all started as soon as the one had jumped to the outside. It looked like the inside checked out. We're going to get you a second look at the LSRTV replay in a moment. And as the one was falling back, Wofford checked up and went to the apron, and you really didn't see it because he fell back out of the lead pack very quickly, and it looked like everybody was okay. But the one got torn up, and he was all by himself and heavily damaged and locked it up to avoid spinning it. And although that car didn't come to a complete stop, it did end up bringing out the caution flag, and that kind of negates the conversation. Green flag stops, we pace for a second time.
Yeah, we certainly do. This has changed things rather dramatically, and, well, let's reset our little clock there. Every time we think we're heading towards a green flag stop, Evan, something just comes out to change it.
And I feel like that's a little bit of, I'm not sure, validation is the right word, but we noted on that last close call that we saw a couple of laps ago, they didn't wreck it because it was at the back. That one was close to the back, but the 7 had drivers behind him, and when he checked up, got into him, and it sent him around. So just kind of going back on what we were talking about not all that long ago. Race leaders, though, back down to the pit lane. Look for Seth the Merchant to get tires. He slid through his box the last time. He's going to make sure that that doesn't happen again. He safely gets in. But the field is led down by the 88 of Mark Jorgensen. Took left sides last time. Going to go for right side tires this time. 2-tire call for the 88 Shout for life. First in and first off.
Yeah, great stop by Mark Jorgensen Jr. He's got those 4 fresh Goodyear tyres. Snowball his fuel will be down and out and off pit road in nice short order. 88 where we know he exists a lot of this time out front.
So as we pace for a second time tonight, we'll take this quick opportunity, throw a caution of our own. We will step aside, and we will come back to the Talladega Superspeedway in just a moment. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series Season 14 Championship. It doesn't work good when you try to say both words at the same time. Live here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. We're closing in on the halfway point. It's the last race of the Round of 12 Championship, and there is plenty more to come tonight on iRacing Live.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, Legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Welcome back live to the Talladega Superspeedway. Lights just out that last time by on the iRacing.com official pace car. So we are set to continue, just a handful of laps shy of the halfway point in tonight's Talladega 250. It is the 17th round on the Season 14 Superspeedway Cup Series Championship. I got through it without choking on my tongue, and we are working our way to lap number 40, where we will collect the green flag once again. Second yellow on the night going to be extinguished. Mark Jorgensen Jr. First driver in, first driver off on the pit stops. Derek Walker, though, does take over second, and a couple of changes throughout the field. You can take a look at the top of your screen and see how they will come to the green flag. We'll also take a complete look top to bottom when we do cross the halfway point in about 7 or 8 laps.
Yeah, we certainly will have, and of course we'll get back going green flag this time by, and well, the race has flown past in this one. I thought we'd be around a little bit longer, but despite 2 cautions, this has been a fairly quick half of the race. Not sure I can say the same for the second half, but so far, these guys have been on the professional side.
We are to see what is to come as we close in towards that halfway point and then begin to work on the second half of tonight's contest. So, pace car down and away. Jorgensen Jr. getting the opportunity to bring us back to the green flag. He got a hold of that bay, though, all the way through the tri-oval and start-finish on much further down towards quarter 1 than it is at Daytona. Now the green flag flies, and a good jump for the drivers on the inside. 88 going to lead it at the line. In fact, probably the most separated we've seen the top 5 be all night long. Look at the move from the top to the bottom. It's Jason Olmans who jumps ship, and a Haas Ford goes down low.
Yeah, so he does. It's definitely getting a bit on the move up to top there. The guys shuffling about, not really staying as organised as we've seen in the past. Probably one of their weaker starts for the top side here, Evan. But with the powerhouses, with the likes of Merchant, Jorgensen Jr., Altmans, and McGeechan on the low side, not much they could have done.
Yeah, and we expect people to flock to the inside of the racetrack on restarts. That it was surprising that we really hadn't seen that to this point tonight. So the 31 doing so up front means that he either really thinks the outside's going to die, or he's not a big fan of pushing the 20 in front of him. Either way, it's going to guarantee he's there. Big problems behind your leaders, though. Caution, flag is out, and it's Brandon Chaburko.
Well, that's not a surprise in terms of phrases we say in this one, Evan. It's There's a crash, and Brandon Chaburko is almost a byword in this series, but we'll look back at the LSRTV replay and see exactly what went down.
He was working with his teammate, 21, and I saw Chaburko making a couple moves high and a couple moves low and thought that might have been the case, but he got turned. Ron Flag, somebody who needs to be conservative in this race because he has to win it, tried to go to the inside, and it just did not work. And I can't remember who did that to. I can't remember who did that to Danica at Fontana last year. I think he might have pulled a Casey Kane if it was a 5 car that did it.
It happened to somebody else. It happened to Danica again at Kansas, I recall. I wonder who that could have been in a Ford. Yeah, I think it was a yellow Ford that might have
some red on it. Yeah, Ron Flag's got a couple of those colors, but not quite the same. And I believe
he definitely Logano'd Chaburko there. I think we can call it. Is that a word?
Yeah, it's a thing, and I'm surprised because not saying that surprised Chaburko didn't cause it, but Chaburko's somebody who's known for going 3 wide, and I saw him last time I saw him coming out of the corner. He was up high and dove low, so I thought maybe somebody was going to try to stay on his bumper, but it was simply a misgauge by the 10 Rod Flag, and that's a very uncommon mistake for somebody who's been in this series for a long time to make.
Yeah, absolutely, and for the first time, it's probably the only time I've ever seen an incident that somehow Chaburko didn't have a contributing factor in at all, which is not saying he's a bad driver, it's just he's a very active driver. He's a very proactive driver. He gets involved and makes moves, and when you're a move maker, contact happens, you expect it, but in this case, he was a passive victim in that situation, sitting still in line, doing his thing, and Rod just misgauged his the length of the nose on that Pontiac Grand Prix, so unfortunately that one did not work out too well.
So we had noted that cautions can breed cautions, and it really wasn't the case off of the first one, but the second caution flagging a lead rate to our third. That jump coming before 2.66 miles were completed off of the restart. Again, today's total race distance, 94 laps in length, means that we are going to cross the halfway point in this one come lap number 47. That'll be just a step after, I believe, we go back into green flag conditions, so we will hold off on that iRacing midway race break, but when that time comes, we'll take a look top to bottom, debrief some of what has happened in this opening half of the race, and as we head to the second, the probability of cars getting junked and cautions being waived goes up and up by every single passing mile. And that is part of the beauty and a part of the horror for some of these drivers of racing on plate tracks. But right now, running with 25 drivers at a lead lap. That accident happened towards the back, so it really didn't collect anybody else. And the guys up front relatively okay. Jorgensen was able to get that big jump off for the restart. I'm curious what Altmans is going to do in the 51, because if you remember, he restarted 4th, but abandoned the top side, jumped down to the bottom. Now that he's 3rd, though, DeMerchant going to kicked out to the outside of the front row. The 51 going to be second driver in line on the bottom, restarting in 3rd. I'm assuming the 51 will be content running there. I think he wants to be on the bottom.
Yeah, I think he does. The bottom side is definitely the cruising side at the moment, Evan. And these guys are definitely some cruising territory yet to go in this race. Got to make sure they get to the end of this one because, well, if you don't in it, you can't win it. So no point wrecking out on lap 51 spectacularly if you can't make it lap 94 in a boring fashion. So right now, getting down low, I think will be everyone's priority off this restart. Everyone's had some crazy. Now it's time to ride.
And if you're just tuning in, as we've said a couple of times tonight, this is the final race of the round of 12 on this Season 14 Superspeedway Cup Series playoff. After tonight, field going to get cut down to 6. Those 6 drivers are going to have a 3-race winner-take-all. Whoever earns the most points will be the Season 14 champion. And into tonight, Brandon Chaburko, winner from 3 weeks ago. Jason Altman's winner from 2 weeks ago. They have punched their ticket into that championship round, which means that they're safe. They're going to the round of 6, doesn't matter. So we don't technically have 12 drivers fighting for 6 spots. We've got 10 drivers fighting for 4 drivers in on points into tonight. Rodney Watford and Chris Bassini tied for the points lead, 3rd and 4th on the playoff grid, 25 points above the cut line. Jorgensen is in 5th. He's 21 above, and Corey Henry, final driver in, is 14 points above. The drivers on the flip side of that, though, Shane DeBakichin, 14 points out. Andrew Berger, Berger, 19 points out. Paul Servant is 24 out. Derek Walker was 32 out. Rod Flag, 43 out. And Frank Basilia, 94 out. We can tell you that Frank Basilia is out of this race. He was in a winner-go-home situation, so his championship hopes are going to come to a close. If you're anybody, though, a win locks you in. So if one of our already race winners in this round wins, they take that opportunity away from somebody else. But Rod Flank, who's 43 points back, could kick Corey Henry out of this thing. If he gets the win, that would jump him up right behind the 22 and the 51 up there. Everybody would slide down one position to the right. Henry would have been the driver, barring any shakeups there, that gets kicked out. So again, it's difficult to follow the live points because there's the factor of you got guys racing on points, and whoever the race leader is at any given moment has an opportunity to get a bye into the next round. If the 88 of Jorgensen wins, I think that would give him enough points to advance anyhow, but the win would technically kick him up to the top of the chase grid. So plenty of that to follow, but again, you can, if you can't remember all of those numbers, you can take a look and you will recognize those championship drivers because they've got a bright green banner at the top of their windshield, so you'll be able to kind of see them in the pack as far as where they're working.
Yeah, you certainly will, of course, and this will make things a lot easier for everyone at home to tell who is who right now, and while those drivers running in some prominent positions as things go. But it's the people at the front who we're really keeping our eyes on, because there's some big names up there. Junior, DeMerchant, Oldmans, McEachin. Behind them it's Walker, Servant, Piscini, and Berger. Those are all household names in this series. These are the big dogs. And, well, if we don't keep it up front and keep it busy, especially too wide, it'll be these boys.
Tonight's coverage of the Superspeedway Cup Series is brought to you by Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time in the sim behind the wheel, on top of the box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is your go-to software for iRacing scoring and analytics. You can decide to go with just the basic download, or for a little bit more, you can get the pro version today at joel-real-timing.com, the official timing software of LSRTV and a presenting sponsor of our coverage of tonight's Superspeedway Cup Series on iRacing Live. Fully expecting those lights to go out on top of the pace car this time by. These caution laps have been one longer than they were earlier in the race, and that's because there are now drivers laps down. Earlier, we have an accident. There was nobody lap down because everybody started from the lead lap, and therefore we were able to get back into green flag conditions sooner. But as you see the lights go out there, when there's lap down cars, the caution cycle going to be extended by one lap, because not only does pit road have to open for your race leaders, but then pit road will then open the next lap by for lap down cars, and that's how we get that extra lap. So nonetheless, 45 laps going to be complete as we come to the green flag the next time around, and these guys, I'm sure, itching to get back underway. Roughly 10 of the last 12 laps have been under caution, and I want to get this thing back up to pace.
Yeah, absolutely. These positions are going to be very critical towards the end of this, Evan, and these guys want to make sure they are in those finishing spots. But, well, the field's going to get doubled up here, and we are getting ready to go for this one.
Just trying to see who is maybe in a couple of tricky scenarios here. Greg Cooks is catching up from 25th, so is Rod Flag. They've been coming down to the pit lane every single lap to try to get damage repaired. The first driver one lap down is Brandon Chaburko, who got taken out in that accident. Again, he has a win. He is good to the round of 6, and it appears that his night is done. That car is parked on the pit lane. 4 laps down. Ray Rittenauer is out of this race in 28th. Frank Basilia, as already noted, is out of this race in 29th. But all things considered, 26 cars actively on the racetrack, and it looks like at least all 26 of those, well, some may have a little bit of damage here and there. I'd say they're all competitive. Pretty good for getting halfway.
Yeah, they certainly are very, very good for halfway. Things definitely on the good side. It could have been worse so far, but there's still another half yet to go.
And a pace car going to duck down and away this time as we complete 45 laps and take 49 laps to go tonight from Talladega. Jorgensen was able to get a good jump last time. The 88 looks to repeat this time as he cycles through to the tri-oval side by side with the 32 to Merchant. They will come underneath the flag stand. Green flag flies outside. Better time.
Better start by far for the outsiders. Look at the Merchant. He crosses the line first in that case, and big push by the 28 of McEachin. But it's starting to fall back as the inside just hooks up a little better. Altman shoving the 88 super hard as they exit turn number 2. It will be a very clear run from Mark Johnson Jr.
Oh, and caution behind the race leaders. More problems down the back straightaway. It is issues with the 15, Greg Hooks.
So he was right in the back of the pack. He just hooked behind by Rod Flag again. Dumping another car in this one, which sends him up the track. Oh, huge problems as he collects the 36 there of Nathan Davies, who was doing nothing wrong, just got waved around back onto the lead lap, but unfortunately Davies is a victim, collected out of nowhere by a car spinning low. His game's over finally. Oh, disappointing.
Yeah, he was on his lid. The A machine got a fantastic view of that, but there was nothing that Nathan Davis could have done. He was just up on the outside. The spinning nap of 15 to Greg Hooks comes up, and an unfortunate situation. It means Rod Flag, the initiating piece of contact now for 2 cautions in a row, and has, with the exception of, for record-keeping purposes, we did run about 3-4 laps in between the second and the third caution. Essentially, 3 back-to-back cautions have really stunted the momentum of this race right at the cross flags point. So we were going to take a look to see if drivers are going to be coming down pit road this time. This is the point in the race when you get a lot of yellows back-to-back-to-back, where you can make up positions on pit road. And when you go 15 laps and you get a caution, basically everybody agrees, okay, let's come down pit road. We're going to top off on fuel and get tires. If you have 3 back-to-back, though, somebody might come in the second time. The last caution in this case, somebody may come down the third time, which would be this caution in this case. And that's how you have drivers pick it up and losing spots. It's that part where the strategy isn't clearly defined, where somebody might make a move. And look at that, Jorgensen stays out for the race lead, but Oltmans comes in from second. Doesn't look like many other drivers from up front are going to make the same call, but that's going to cost the 51 some time, put him though on newer tires and more fuel, which could play a factor into fuel if this race were to break out green to the second half.
Yeah, it certainly could, of course. Breaking out into the second half would be a very important factor here, but these guys, I don't think we're going to see a green flag run in the second half, Evan. Something's giving me a vibe. We're not going to see it. This one is going to stay under caution. I think we're going to see 2 or 3 more by the second half. Next one, perhaps 20 or so laps, maybe, until we see it. I think we'll get our flavour of perhaps this might go green before we see something else happen again.
And the more accidents that we see now, and most of these have been 1 or 2 car accidents, so we're not junking a lot of cars. But now, though, you're going to start to see accidents that involve drivers getting torn up for the second time. And with that quick repair going to be already used up, most likely, they're not going to be able to get back on track. And this is the point where the number of drivers on track slowly begins to fall. So we just crossed the halfway point. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside. We will do so, though. LSRTV nonstop. And when we come back, we'll take a look at your iRacing Midway race break. You're watching the Superspeedway Cup Series on LSRTV and iRacing Live.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green!
Back live from the Talladega Superspeedway, let's take this opportunity to take a look at our iRacing Midway Race Break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the world. And in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online racing with officially sanctioned series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, World of Outlaws, and many more. Top 10 go as follows. Mark Jorgensen Jr. is our race leader. He's followed by Seth the Merchant, Derek Walker, Shane McKeechin, and Chris Bassini inside of the top 5, with Paul Servant in 6th, Scott Orr in 7th, Andrew Berger, Daniel Holloway, and Dwayne Cooper through the top 10.
Starting 11th place tonight, well, the second half will be Justin Laverne, Rodney Wofford in 12th, Brandon Guzman-Savais 13th place. Behind them it's Ramon Evans, Corey Henry, Glenn Hedrick, Kelly Dahl, Jason Altmans, Greg Hooks, and Ryan Pillen.
Final 5 drivers on the lead lap through 25th. That's 21st, Dan Harrington, 22nd, Brandon Cattell with Rod Flag 23rd, Gary Champion 24th, and Mike Thielen 25th. Rest of these drivers multiple laps down, and I think everybody from this point on out of it. 26th through 29th is Nathan Davis, Brandon Chaburko, Ray Rittenauer, and Frank Basilia. So that's a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway Race Break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, you can go to iRacing.com and sign up today. If you go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws, you can get some exclusive promo codes. You can choose from a 1-year membership for over 50% off, or try a 3-month membership for less than $5. Again, that's valid on new memberships only at iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. We're going to go back under green flag conditions. 50 laps complete tonight in the Talladega 250. 20 drivers there, so on a lead lap total going to be 25 as we come back to the green. At 44 laps now to go, we no longer count up, we begin to count down, close it in on the end.
Yeah, we certainly do. It'll be 43 to go, I think, at this point, Evan, so we're really tightening down on this one. Just outside of one green flag run and a quickie. We've got Seth the Merchant pulls down the inside, leaving Shane McKeechin out there on the outside with Savant behind him only. 0-0 quite a way back, Dwayne Cooper, but not much forming on the top. You'll see those guys drop back here. Low side looking safe for now as McKeechin struggles to find a spot. So does Savant. Can't find anywhere to go as, well, the gap's not big enough for them now, looking around the flat. Seth the Merchant riding out front in a good spot, but the field is really...
Oh, there he goes!
Big.
The 32!
Oh my gosh!
From the race lead in a huge accident for the 32 of Seth the Merchant, leading into the tri-oval, and that car is obliterated.
I think we need an onboard from the 26 if we can get that on replay, or the 3 of Savant actually, because oh my gosh, I don't think I've seen a blowover in this series. I think I just have.
Bounced off of the wall at, looks like it was about 184 miles an hour, bounced down into traffic and got drop kicked. That has to be one of, if not the most ferocious wrecks we have seen in quite some time.
50 feet, Evan.
And if the thing is, if you look on board with him, he didn't even get a chance to try to correct the wheel by the time he hit the wall. It happened that quickly, and that overhead shot was a good look at it. Just a little bit of contact at the inside. What happens is, you see there's 3 white lines on the racetrack in the tri-oval. There's only 2 down in the corners. It's because that an additional lane opens up on the bottom, and it's really loose down there. And the 88 just tapped him. It wasn't, an egregious swipe on the bumper. He just tapped him, though, where there was a shower of sparks, and the 32 was gone. And the 3, I'm sure, had a very entertaining view of that one, because Paul Servant's the one who ramped the 32 up and off his nose.
Absolutely, the car's just stopping now, as I think Chaburko's doing donuts, apparently, so I think he's given up on this one. He's 11 laps down. Field trying to catch up here. I think everyone's going to have to pit for new underwear after that one, Evan. That was the most dramatic crash I've seen in my history of iRacing.
And again, it happened so quick. We've seen bigger wrecks. We've seen wrecks that have included 20-plus cars. We've seen people get turned from the race lead on that part of the racetrack, but I can't say that we've seen something like that in quite some time. And I mean, there's absolutely no hope for Seth the Merchant to even bother bringing that car down pit road to trying to take a look to see if the damage can be repaired normally. We noted that these guys have the quick fixes. That doesn't mean you're going to go right to the quick fix. Oftentimes, if the damage isn't terrible, you'll drive out there with the damage on that car that's somewhat moderate, and then take the quick fix later on, so you're not in a vulnerable position where you don't have it if you get involved in another accident. But that's how you tear up a car. He crossed the start-finish line on his lid. He is on the pit lane. He had to take a tow, and the problem is, he wasn't able to drive that car away, Rachel, and he was stuck just past the pit lane, which means that the tow's technically going to account for the time it would take to take that car all the way through 1 and 2, down the back to 3 and 4. So he's probably got the maximum virtual tow time, so he's not going to be released from the box for 4 minutes at least, and that's going to cost him at minimum 1 lap.
Yeah, I think that is. I don't think he's taking a tow. I think he's taking a small commuter flight from that one. I'm still struggling to comprehend what I've just seen here, because in my career of commentating here and racing, I've never seen an accident like that. That was a first, I think.
Well, and the incident prior to this, in fact, both incidents, Rod Flag turned Chaburko. But that one was different because he was next to him, essentially on the right rear, misjudged and actually hooked him. But the incident that happened right after that one, the second to most recent caution off in turn 3, was something similar, where you're sitting on the bumper, and these aren't the COTs. The bumpers don't line up all that nicely, and sometimes when you make a movement left to right on somebody's bumper, you almost get snagged on something, and then you're pushing against the solid object, and that's how you kind of push that guy's back end out. But that car didn't even slowly spin. It just shot right up the hill. And Seth the Merchant, unfortunately, you would think the safest place to be, in theory, is to be running in the race lead. And that was at no fault of the Merchants. That was of no intent on behalf of Mark Jorgensen. But that's going to be a tough one to swallow. And Jorgensen thankful that he didn't get torn up in that one, because he's trying to make sure that he advances to the next round of the championship. And that car looks relatively undamaged. And I will say, you saw the onboard with Paul Servant to drop kick the 32. That Oreo Chevrolet is also very fortunate that that car looks essentially unscathed. It could have gone either way. And I think because that 32 was in the air and it didn't really calculate that impact quite properly, and that's fantastic news for the 3. Otherwise, he'd be missing the whole front end of his car. He did get back end damage in the exchange, but he didn't pit. He's still running in 7th. Could have been plenty worse.
Yeah, certainly is. He'll get themselves going again. He has a backup car, thankfully, for that one, but it will probably, like you say, cost him a lap. He'll get a chance to get that one back. But, yeah, that leaves Jorgensen Jr. out front. Derek Walker, Chris Passini, Andrew Burgess, Jay McEachin. Good top 5 still, but down one of those cars that was heavily involved in this one. So I'd like to see how this happens. Of course, it was the Merchant who led the big charge on the outside there to really control that start. But that's, we'll be going back green here with, I think we're only 39 to go at this time, Evan. We'll be going back green perhaps with about 38, 37, so we're really winding this clock down now.
Still trying to figure out where to go from there. Seth the Merchant is, but he's been released for the pit lane, so he's served that virtual tow time penalty, and has obviously opted to take the quick repair. The 32 Chevrolet, thankful that he still had it, and fortunately enough for him, he only loses 1 lap. So I'm not sure that he's going to be given away by this lap. It's kind of a weird call if the 32 is considered the cause of the caution, or if it's going to be the 88 in that case. But Jorgensen staying up front would lead me to believe there's no penalty inbound for him. But DeVerchin is 1 lap down. Based on what's happened over the last 25, 30 laps, Rachel, I feel like it's safe to say we're going to see another caution at some point. And then therefore Seth the Merchant be able to get back to the lead lap via a wave by at that point. He's in fact the only driver on track that is off of the lead lap in 25th. The guy's 26th on back, as noted on the midway race breaker out of this race. So next caution, he gets back to the lead lap. If he wins this thing, it'd be a great comeback. We've seen it happen before.
Yeah, certainly will be, of course. We'll get these guys sorted out and shaken up for this one as we get going forwards in the race. But you have to think about this, the timings. I don't think we're going to see that green flag stop here, Evan. If we get more than 10 laps in this run and they pit, they're good to the end. So this could shake things.
It is a valid point. If we go green all the way, we would see one, because I feel like we'd be short by about 6 laps or so, 6, 7, 8 laps. But again, the trends say the later in the race you go, you get more cautions than what you had earlier in the race. And we've had quite our fair share of carnage recently here tonight from Talladega. So that would lead me to believe that we would not go green to the end. But never say never. Seth the Virgin wants this race to have at least one caution so he can get back into this state. I'm sure Jorgensen wouldn't object to being able to just keeping his track position up front and to being able to run this one out to the green. Nonetheless, lights finally out on top of the iRacing.com pace car. Restart going to be due up next time with 56 laps complete. And I think that'll put us at 28 laps to go.
Yeah,
38 laps to go. Math is
yes, 38. Not your strong point tonight, though.
No.
But we'll go from this point forwards and we'll see how this one plays out. Of course, Jorgensen Jr. and it'll be Walker on the front row there. Passini and Berger behind him. Behind that, it will, of course, be McEachin and Warren, Savant and Holloway, Cooper and Naveen, your top 10. Interesting groupings we've got up there. It'll still be tough for some of those guys towards the rear to come forwards. Of course, Rod Flag all the way back in 22nd. First, keep an eye on him.
Just taking a peek back at, maybe some of the names that haven't been up front, just trying to, a name like a Brandon Cattell, who's in 17th, Ryan Pyland, who's up to 16th, 8th, 9th, and 10th, Holloway, Cooper, and Levine, names who have been back, and you just noted. So I was just saying there to try to see if some of the people that have been hanging back tonight and some of those packs that were broken off of the lead pack at sometimes over 12 seconds off of the race lead. I think that if you're going to make a call to flip the switch and start to go at it, this is going to be the restart for it. Don't expect these guys to be easy on the louder pedal as we come back to the green flag to complete lap number 56. Pace car down and away. Mark Jorgensen Jr. is getting his fair share of restart practice. Tonight he is in control once again for the inside of the front row.
Yeah, certainly will be. We'll get themselves going back to green this time by. And it's a good start by the outside there. Walker with a big push early on. Berger pushing hard. The outside stays very connected here, Evan. Best start seems to be there more nice. Outside line, got a few more cars hooked up at this one as the 41 drops out. He'll go back down again. 26 bobbles is broken up already. What did that say? I thought the best start they've had. And they've lost the advantage by the exit too.
Yeah, these cars get up to speed very quickly. So, we keep talking about how on the restart, the inside's the place to be. It's only going to take a little bit more than a lap to get the draft going. The one has the advantage at the draft, obviously already at 192 miles an hour, faster than what we would be running if you're out there by yourself. But as Berger drops to the bottom, you just need momentum, and it takes a lap or two to build up said momentum on the outside of the racetrack. So inside continues to reign king. It'll be a 4 or 5 car advantage for the drivers on the bottom as we get one lap back on the green.
Yeah, absolutely. As Walker stuck on the outside there, trying to find a way down to the bottom. He's feeling lonely right now. Nobody wants to be his friend and let him in, so he's going to cycle all the way back, possibly in front of 26 or behind him. If Corey Henry's teammate will let him in, of course, but we'll get in, I think, in front of the 26 car there. Should be plenty of room. He just slot down. A single foul we ride. Can they keep it green?
That is the question, because again, can't make it on field to the end of this one. If it was 28 laps, you'd be able to, but we went back green with 38 laps to go. And single file. Sounds counterintuitive. We kind of break it down every week for those who may tune in sporadically on Friday nights, but for those who are familiar with how these kind of plate track races race on this service, is that you'll see guys almost start to back it down late because they're moves are going to be that much more important. You go to the outside, it doesn't work. You can't make up those 10 spots you're going to lose by falling back on the outside. I don't think we're there quite yet, because again, we're still not within that fuel window to the end of this race, but it is just something to note for more so when we get towards 10 laps to go. But the 28 McEachin running in third this time down the Alabama gang super stretch, looking to the outside, decides to go back down to the bottom, just keeping things fresh as they ride single file. The 20 is also really trying to get the outside lane going. That's Derek Walker from 10th. He is the only driver, by the way, in this championship grid who is making his first ever playoff appearance in the Superspeedway Cup Series. A lot of drivers making their third playoff appearances. That Andrew Berger, Rod Flag, Corey Henry. Lots of drivers making their fourth, with Oltmans, Passini, and Nikitchen, Jorgensen. You got Chaburko. You've even got guys up in 5- and 6-time playoff competitors. Derek Walker is the only driver where this is his first time competing in a Superspeedway Cup Series playoff. He runs in 10th on the racetrack right now and basically needs a win to advance.
Yes, it does, and that's getting tougher and tougher to accomplish as things go in this direction. But there's still opportunity, still chance, so I'll have to see if they can filter this one through and get something to happen, but they are running out on time and opportunity as more of these incidents happen. This gets tougher as Monster Vice pulls out there on his own to the outside. Will somebody come with him, or will he get hung out to dry? Well, LSRTV 54 car will have to go backwards here. Opportunity taken, but opportunity lost.
And that's the risk. It's going to hurt, and it's going to be more difficult to make up that much time late in a race. It's going to be much more difficult to do so at lap 61 than if it happened at lap 21. Because then you're going to be put in a position where in order to make up those spots, you're going to have to take risks that would have been avoidable if you did not make that mistake. And that's just kind of how the world goes round. And any given week, only one driver could win, only 5 drivers could finish inside of the top 5. So somebody has to have a bad night. It's just the way things go. But unfortunately for Von Savais, he's going to have to try to go back into the positive as he lost a couple of spots that lap.
Yeah, certainly could be, but they'll have to try and keep this one calm for at least a little bit longer in this race. As we're on about the 33 to go, I think, at this point, Evan. So we're about 5 to 7 laps off being in the good for a green flag stop. What's the bet that if we get that position, we get a couple of groups of cars coming down and getting that stop as soon as they're good to the end on fuel? So if we get a caution, they don't need to stop.
And that would be critical, just to get that out of the way and kind of have that in the back of your mind, because the intensity is going to pick up. 32 laps to go as of this time by would be in that window to be able to stretch this thing. And, still single file up front. In fact, I would say more single file running now than what we saw earlier.
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening at this stage, but they need to be calm, but they also need to make track position, of course. But it's going to be very difficult to do that when you're all single file. Everyone's spread out so much behind that top 7 that really, I don't think they're going to really form up again. I think this could stay green to the end with how we've broken this up, but I've said that before, and they've still found a way to crash, so who knows?
You can see the guys up front, though, they're really not keeping a lot of distance on each other's bumper. They're really hooked up, and on the straightaways, that's absolutely fine. You can push on each other, and it's not really going to be any sort of an issue. However, on the corners and into the corner more specifically, if you're on that bumper, that's how you get the bumper hook that we were talking about earlier in this race. We've seen 3 incidents, including that massive Seth the Merchant shunt into the fence that have caused accidents like that. In some races, you see a little bit more of it than others. I don't think it was really a huge factor 2 weeks ago. It exists, but sometimes it's just not a situation that happens. Tonight, not a case of that, though. So you got to be careful. You have to walk a fine line between pushing the guy and helping him out and also not pushing him into the corner. The most important driver in this line right now is that one machine who's riding second in line on the racetrack. That's Chris Passini, because if there's drivers up on the outside of the racetrack, they're going to be pushing, no doubt. But for the 88 of Jorgensen, he can't really do anything. All he can do, keep the right foot down and hold the yellow line. So the speed of the inside is going to be dictated based on how aggressive that one is. And oftentimes that means starting to walk that line between staying off for the bumper and letting him breathe, but also giving him some nudges in the corner. There was a time in this series where you could not push on the bumpers at all in the corners. That's been eased up. It's not recommended, but when push comes to shove, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, you certainly do have to do what you got to do, and in this series that happens more often than not. Racing back here in the pack, and the Merchant making his way forwards. Fighting right now with a 7 of Rodney Walford, moving their way towards that top 15 spot in that second pack. But that leaves your top 15 in that lead group here, and well, they are very, very single file. Altmans was the only one popping out, but they're all back in line again. These guys, well, if they want to stay in the way they are in the positions they've got, they ride where they are. This shakes up the points.
Correct, and again, you can follow the championship drivers. You can see those green banners on the top of the windshields. You got to be inside of the top 4 in points into tonight or win. And, you know, for if Jorgensen wins, that would mean that you know, we would have a chase driver win all 3 races in this opening round of the playoff, which would be almost unheard of. And it'll be even more difficult for a stat like that to happen into the next round, because then you'd have 6 championship caliber drivers out of the playoff. That would be trying to take wins away, although the wins don't really mean as much in the next round because that is a points race for the title. There is no next round to advance to, so those drivers would basically just be racing amongst the guys battling for points, just trying to play spoiler in that regards. And I'm also looking forward to that next round, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, Rachel, but team orders, and not guys pulling over for each other, but teammates in the playoff working with teammates out of the playoff to try to help themselves out and kind of kick their competitors back. We have seen some fantastic plays of teamwork in this series, in those scenarios in the past. Haven't seen anything too clear-cut this year, but that could be not all that far on our horizon either.
Yes, you know, it could definitely be very, very possible with the way things are going. In fact, they're moving together now. Altman's leading a charge with 26. 54 in the 12. I'm going to pop out and join in with this, so we could see a resurgence of that 2-wide racing at the front here as the second line starts to form.
Trying to make that push to the outside. Those guys have been trying for a couple of laps, about 6th, 7th, and 8th in line, looking to the outside. They just haven't got the strength and numbers to do it. What they need is to get a run. The 51, if he's looking for some support from behind, it's not going to work because he's too far back in the pack to have enough drivers behind him. But if he can start to move up on his own, then he would convince the guys 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th in line on the bottom to jump up and help him. But you see the 51 with no help from behind, he just can't do it.
Yeah, absolutely, and well, they're going to stay together for now, and not going to happen. It just takes so much effort to get outside moving, Evan. You really have to be in a position where you can push forwards. You have to have a lot of people commit to it, almost more than the low side, to get it moving when you've been so single file for so long. It's just so hard to build and maintain that momentum, but it requires commitment, and these guys really, the back out of this first group have not a lot to lose. They can afford to do it. Where are they going to go? To the back of the front pack, where they already are?
And the back of the pack isn't that far back. This lead pack is only 12 drivers deep. So if you were to fall back, I guess it wouldn't be terrible. But as I noted with Monsivais, who runs in 11th, he was obviously ahead of 11th when he made the move to the outside and fell back. You don't want to intentionally drop back, but it wouldn't be the end of the world. But I think that, well, everybody always says at these plate tracks, if you're on the lead lap, if you're in the lead pack, you've got a chance of winning it. If it's the white flag, and unless there's an accident, you're not going to win from 12. Not going to happen. So you need to somehow find yourself into, I would say the top 6 is a good thing to shoot for because we can spread these cars out 4 wide. The top 6 is where you need to be with 2.66 miles left in this race if you want an opportunity to take it home. Now again, don't get too far ahead of ourselves. Pit stops on the horizon still to come, but the next time by 24 laps to go from Talladega, closing in on the home stretch.
Yeah, absolutely. Going to make it much, much less to go now, as we are actually counting on that 33 to go line, Evan. And well, as you said, time is short. No, 23 to go. I miscounted. Anyone stopping now, they are good to go. And I'm surprised we haven't seen any takers yet. Could put them in a fantastic spot should we get a caution, especially if they're further back in your field. Nothing to lose.
And that second pack that's behind the driver in 12th, as I noted, top 12 in the lead pack. 13th position is where you'll find that next group. And they're coming down pit road. Here they come. Brandon Cattell, Rodney Wofford, but they're wrecking, trying to get around these guys.
0 Cooper.
Yeah. Oh, and another driver around into the grass.
Yeah,
that's a McKeechin, the 28.
The whole thing. Yeah, McKeechin goes round as well. Problems to them. No caution yet at this time as McKeechin goes off as well. And that's cost him a lot. He'll have a penalty from that one. And that really has dropped him back a lot.
He got hooked by the one. I think the one's going to get a penalty for speeding or unsafe entry, and then he spun and hooked McKeechin. I think those guys on pit road, they're very lucky that the caution didn't come out from the double
zero tapped. Double zero nearly wobbled into 51. He goes around on his own. And yeah, the one comes down, tags 28, puts him in the grass. So that's contact from him. That'll be a penalty post-race, I'm guessing, for contact on pit road, dumping the 28. That has shaken up those green flag stops and made it a little bit on the weird side.
And green flag stops always tend to separate people also. It might have been a late move to pit road by the 00, but I don't know if he saw the 51 coming in hot, but I don't think they got together, and again, that could have easily brought it a caution, and because those leaders had not gotten to that line yet, caution would have come out, pit road would have been closed, they would have been penalized for entering a closed pit, unless they were somehow able to make some sort of drastic maneuver away from the pit lane entry at the last second, which I think would have been highly unlikely. So, all of that being said, we've completely put a blender to the running order in this race. Paul Servant is now your race leader, awaiting to come down pit road. Basically, he and that's it. I was going to say McEachin, but McEachin's already pitted behind him. So the three all out on his lonesome in the race lead by double-digit seconds.
Yeah, it certainly is, Evan. And, well, this is going to shake things around, of course. The lead group there, really big advantage after this one. This has turned things around, of course. No caution after those incidents, so we do stay green here. And this could change the entire finishing results of this race. A few of those guys still to come down pit road, that'll make a difference. But I think the guys who got away best with this are the likes of Altmans, Jorgensen Jr., who are running 1-2 once we cycle through in this one. They're in an absolute catbird seat for a fight for the win.
Correct. The top 9 have yet to come down pit road. So you've got Servant all by himself. Flag kind of with Levine and Hooks in second, third, and fourth. They're about 3 seconds back. Harrington's all by himself, 7 seconds off for the race lead. As here comes the 3, is going to come down pit road. So Servant pitting, Hooks pitting, and Levine pitting. So Rod Flag is going to go to the race lead. Also waiting for Harrington to pit, Evans, Hedrick, Dahl, and Thiel. So the first driver out of pit lane is Mark Jorgensen Jr., and it's just he and the 51 of Altmans all alone in a 2-car breakaway that would be battling for the race lead once pit stops are complete.
Yeah, certainly the pit stop sequence will be a very tough one for these guys to finish up as more cars come down pit road, including the 83 and a few more. As Ramon Evans down on pit road as the likes of Greg Hooks leave. The 3 of Savant come down, as does Mike Thiel. No, him and Hedrick are staying out. Harrington and Flag still on the racetrack. Expect to see them very soon. Will they break off this time by? None of them coming, so we're going to wait to see if we get a yellow flag.
Yeah, the idea for them is going to be to stay out as long as you can. This isn't as clear-cut of a strategy as what it's like at at any other track rather than a super speedway, where you short pit, you get the fresh tires, you're going to be quicker. This could in fact work out for Rod Flag in the 10, but it's interesting because Jorgensen, as we noted, is by himself with Altmans. They're not going to stay by themselves for long because that second pack behind them, third driver off of the pit lane, what's 10th on the racetrack right now, Walker, Cattell, Henry, Piscini, Pyland, and Monsivice. That group's going to catch him because they're quicker. So what I was going to say is Rod Flag's in a group of 4. That's faster than a group of 2. If he stays out until that secondary pack catches the lead pack of drivers who have already pitted, his group of 4 may be faster each lap than the group of 2 is right now. If they can somehow time that, it might just work out.
Yeah, certainly, and that's the situation. It's going to be one of those tricky ones for the rest of this race, Evan. These guys, now they've broken up so much, we've lost so much time in this. It's really shaking up how this one plays, and look at this front group. They're actually back together so well here as the charge forms with the 20 here of Walker pushing forward to 80 behind him. That's Brandon Cattell. 12 to 1, a 41 behind them, 54 sorry, also in there of Monsivice. But the 20 of Walker getting a huge push here from the 80. That's absolutely massive from him. Cattell getting a good shove, and down goes Walker, leaves Cattell on the outside. Not a way to thank a new friend, but, well, he got the advantage he needed.
Well, and Cattell had done such a good job of getting into this race. 8th in practice, but qualifying 26th, was way back for the bulk of it. He's one of the drivers that I was looking at under the caution, seeing, okay, can he pick up and get up into this thing? And now he's going to fall to the back of this pack, which is grown in size, because they're able to catch up to Jorgensen. Walker was able to go to the lead in this pack, and now it sits as a 8-driver pack, racing for what right now is 4th position. The top 3 drivers have yet to pit. That's Rod Flag, Glenn Hedrick, and Dan Harrington. Flag is all by himself, working with lap machines that technically lap down cars, but are cars that may be faster than him at a racetrack right now, but he's 14 seconds in front of Hedrick and Harrington. The 10 is starting to lose touch with the 32 and the 28. He wants to stay out as long as he can, hope to get a yellow, and then everybody would in theory pit there to come down and get fresh tires for the late race restart. Then he would be able to cycle up into the order. But I think that he's going to have to make a decision on if he's going to go down with the ship on that strategy or if he's going to decide to come and pit. Because right now he's got a 32-second gap over 4th position, and I don't think that's enough of a gap to come down pit, get back up to speed, and stay in front of them.
No, they were too far back, Evan, to make that one work. They'll come out just behind the leaders, I think, should they do that. Or perhaps a little bit further back, but they should just stay in the lead lap if they pit now. I think that's really got to be their goal at this point.
We wait to see when he pits, and if, Hedrick and Harrington coming down pit road isn't in anywhere going to be coordinated. They just came over the radio, said they will be pitting this time. Flag has already passed the pit road entry. So 2nd and 3rd on the racetrack. Glenn Hedrick, Dan Harrington going to come down and pit this time at lap number 78, which means that the only driver yet to pit is the number 10 Chevrolet.
That's an awkward strategy there from Rod Flag. I'm not sure I'd do that if I was him, but he's kind of sold into that strategy now, so he's going to be on his own when he comes down.
And again, he's losing 2 seconds per lap. I think that he stretched it a little bit too far, and now you almost have to just stay out through this thing and hope that, you get a caution and you're able to kind of pull the lucky one out of the back pocket, pull it out of the hat, and try to get yourself into a position to battle for this. But at this rate, the 10, again, cannot go to the end without a pit stop. And he's not going to be able to go much further, in fact, without a pit stop. So not to completely ignore the 10, he is your race leader. As of that time by with 15 laps to go, but the real battle for the race lead is going to be on it for right now what is 2nd on track. Walker, Jorgensen, Oltmans, Henry, Passini, Cattell, Pilot, Monsivice in this group, single file as they run.
Yeah, certainly will do for him, but I think Rod Flag sold himself down the river with this one, as he will not be in a position to make much effect of this. Even if we get a caution, I don't think many of these guys will come down. Up at the other end of the sharp end node, Mark Jorgensen Jr. taking a bit of a look there on Walker as they head into one, getting a bit of momentum here as he'll build this one. 51 of Altman's behind him. We could see a move brewing from those guys now as they're going to try and down the backstretch here. 80 laps completed. 14 to go this time by, and well, it's looking feisty. I don't think Walker will hold this for long.
You have to assume that this is only going to be able to maintain for such a time. They're not going to be single file for the rest of this race. Something's going to happen, and when it happens, all chaos is going to break loose at one coordinated time. You see the 80 machine of Cattell, who was just up in this pack, but had fallen back after getting stuck on the outside. He wants to kind of kick this thing off. I think he needs help from Pilot and Monsivice. Monsivice going to try to go to the top, but a 54 is too far back for that to work at the moment. And a 41 not really helping about much. That Cattell's really going to have to pinch hard on these guys to get any sort of a run, and that's where things can get ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll get very ugly, but the date he's made his move already. He's pulled to the outside there on this front group, and he's getting himself alongside there, holding himself up. Will anyone be brave enough to come with him? Will 88 take the ride forwards with the help of the 80 right now, as the 20 did a few laps ago? He's dropping back now. Looks like it was an aborted attempt from Cattell.
And now that they've lined up, the 54 is on the outside of Pilot, so they were slowing each other down. Pilot was able to get back in front of Monsivice. Now they're both lined up, and if those three drivers can get together, they can do something. But you can see the 54 struggling on that back spot. As the last driver in the pack, you have no drafting support from behind. It can at times be difficult to stay on the bumper of the drivers in front of you. But here comes Brandon Cattell. Oltmans not going to be able to jump up. Does the 88 of Jorgensen decide to give up his positioning? I don't see any reason why the 88 and the 51 would like to go up top. I think they would be better suited to actually help the 20 so that they would be 2nd and 3rd come the last couple of laps, and then they'd be in a better position to make a move.
Yeah, it certainly is. In this case, as a run starts now, 80 and the 41. Big advantage. Look at the side drafting there from the 80 on the 12 of Corey Henry. He really got a huge boost off that as he goes down on the 51 there. Look at him making his way forwards on his own here. The 80 making a huge charge. That side suck is absolutely massive for him.
And just as quickly as it came up into the corner, drops off of it, and we go back to having just the 80 up on the outside. He's lost the support, but he's not falling back. He's holding his own, and I think that that's about all you can do as a driver on the outside. You could make it up to about 3rd or 4th, but I'm not sure you're going to get any further than that. He needs Monsivice to get to the bumper. The 54 has been trying, just can't get to him. Maybe going to have it this time, and there goes Oltmans. He'll go back to the inside now and crosses up the 88.
He certainly does that. That was a very brave, optimistic move at that stage of things, as 88 goes for the advantage now. He's going to get a push from the 80. Another one getting shoved to the front by that very green car. As Monsivice behind him, as well as the 41 of Pitland. As 88 not quite got the advantage. Oh, 20 goes low under the yellow line there. What looked like a bit of a tap from the 88, but everyone stays stable.
Yeah, it was a little bit tight that time at turn 2. The 20 bobbled off to the inside. We are side by side for what is now once again the race lead in this race. Flag has since pitted and is going to run in 16th and then maybe even lower on the racetrack. He looks like he'll probably end up at about 20th position. 10 laps to go from Talladega, this time by Walker to the race lead. Needs a win to get to the next round of the championship. Still a long way to go.
Yes, certainly in this case. All the 88 slices down behind the 51 there and takes a spot in line with what barely looked like enough room for a race car there, but he does it as the 51 will dive up and try and take a shot here. The 20 left abandoned. Topside takes a huge advantage. 20 tries to do something, and always he cut down and always getting shaky. Everyone's splitting up. This is the last lap. Jorgensen Jr. dices. The 80 slices through the middle. 3 wide for the race lead here. It's 51.
Oh, there goes the 51. Oltmans into the outside fence. Hard hit up on the top. No caution, though, as the 51 keeps it straight. We stay green. Now contact for the race lead. Walker on the inside. It's Cattell on the outside, and I can promise you Jorgensen is not pushing the 20 in interest of being his friend. He's pushing him to make a statement because he tried to cross him up, and that 20 threw a whale of a block down the back straightaway, and now, ironically enough, they have to work together.
You know what, Evan? This 80 has thrown a spanner in the regular works. This guy's new to the series, and he is making waves. He is dancing with the big boys, and he's not doing the foxtrot right now. This is some break dancing coming on from the 80 of Cattell. He is getting in the middle of this one, and he is absolutely throwing down here. This has been exciting. He is challenging them. He's side drafting as hard as Jorgensen Jr. does to others. This is an impressive fight we're seeing, and this is really entertaining.
And it's almost down to 4 drivers because the lead pack got split up a little bit. But here comes Monsivice once again from 5th. He's going to get back into this thing. Let's not forget about the 12 of Corey Henry. The 1 of Chris Piscini. They're it. Jason Oltmans has too much damage. The 51 is going to fall out of this race. He is a race winner though in this round. Not a problem. He will compete for a championship starting next Friday. Now everybody going to pull a mutiny on the 20. I told you Jorgensen wasn't happy with him. And look at that. Not a single soul. Finally, Corey Henry going to be a friend to the 20. But Derek Walker going to go from the race lead to 4th just like that.
Oh, that was an absolute betrayal of the 20. He got absolutely dropped by that group as Jorgensen Jr. goes back to the front with the 80 of Cattell behind him and the 41 of Pillen. So 2 newbies up there in the top 3. Impressive run from those 2 as wow. The 80 has definitely been my star of this race so far. But well, Junior's out front. What's new? 20, can he reply?
And these guys have really been mixing it up. Soon we're going to be at the point of no return. This next time by, we're going to take lap number 89, and that'll be 6 laps to go in this race. Once we get to 4 laps to go or less, a caution would end this race. We wouldn't have an opportunity to go back green. So when those guys started mixing it up down the back straightaway, I can't remember who it was, but somebody came over the radio and said, hey, I want to finish under green. So once we get inside 4 to go, there is no reason to be Brandon Cattell, sit in second and wait. You cannot try to set up a pretty pass for the race win, because if you're 8 to the last lap, you might not even have an opportunity to go for it. So at 4 to go, that's when the gloves come off, and these guys are absolutely going to put it on each other. Not that they haven't been for the last 5 laps or so, as now we see Walker with Henry trying to do something on the outside of the racetrack. And the 88 and the 80 are separated, so they might have a chance this time at a 2 if they get hooked up.
It certainly will, as this one's going to shake up now as Walker with a huge run and up to block him comes the 88.
And that was the payback.
Side hit there on the 80. Yes, sir, get out of my way, newbie. This is me coming through, says Walker, as he's hung out to dry a second time here. What will he do to force himself? A bit of a slap there on the 80, squeezing hard what will come out of this toothpaste tube once they compress it hard enough. It's going to be some great racing action here. It'll be 4 to go, this time across, as this one is not looking like it will go down.
And that was payback because the 20 shut the door on the 88, the 80 shut the door on the 20. So now we're even in theory, but the both bad caution flag flies at lap number 90, and it's problems off of the lead pack with Kelly Dahl in 24th.
Well, that changes everything. Kelly Dahl there in serious trouble. And that is into 3 off the backstretch as that was contact. Oh, he gets pushed down low by McEachin.
He got
hooked sideways, wraps him into the wall, and bang, they are done.
He kind of got squeezed. He was getting pushed into the back of the 82 and getting pushed from behind, and the only reason that happened is because they had to go to the outside to get around lap traffic, but that's a battle for 24th position. That's anywhere from 40 seconds plus off for the race lead, and that's something that I mean, if you're running 24th and you're almost a lap down, those guys, you just can't do that. And at 5 laps to go, you gotta be smarter than that.
Certainly is as well. Do we go green? That's the thing. Do we get to go back green at all?
It was right at 5 to go. And normally we say 5 to go. Sometimes it's 4 to go. There is no definitive way to say it. But we have drivers laps down. And that's why the cautions in this second half of this race have been a lot longer than the cautions in the opening half of the race. And we did not wait for the pace car. Your race leaders were at the start-finish line. If we waited for the pace car to pull out in front of the field, then pit road would, be opening already. But because the field had to come back around a complete lap to catch up to the pace car, that tells me that this race is not going to go back green.
I think that's going to be the case in this one. Well, what an exciting one we've had tonight. That last couple of laps of racing, Evan, was some of the best we've seen in this series by far in terms of excitement level. You could tell this is the final round of this segment in the chase. And wow, they have shown it.
And all we can do is really sit around on our hands and wait and keep it on the lights on top of the pace car. This time by lap 91 going to be complete, going to be 3 laps to go, which means the drivers would already have to have 2 to go. Because the lights would have to come off the next time around as we take lap 93 so we could get a green at lap number 94 and have a 1-lap shootout. And pit road just opened for lead lap cars. Pit road is not even open, I don't believe, for the lap down cars. So that puts me at about 99% positivity.
We're not going green.
Yeah, that this thing's not going to go back green.
Evan, I think we might have some irritation after this one from the 20 of Derek Walker. There's a non-chase car getting in there and racing hyper-aggressively with chase contenders, people who need to win, and that's not going to sell too well with some of these guys.
And again, we noted Walker basically needed a win. He came into tonight 32 points below the cut line. That's still mathematically possible. The problem is the driver that he would have had to make up points on is Corey Henry, who just finished in front of him in 3rd. So then you're talking about being 39 points behind Jorgensen, who just got a ticket into the next round via the win if he's able to hang under caution. So Derek Walker's not going to advance. And I think even more so than Brandon Cattell, who was in this mix here, because when the 20 got blocked by the 88, he tried to slide to his inside, and he almost, if not did, hit Cattell. And I think that's why Cattell kind of hit him back. I've got nothing wrong with what the 80 did. And we always talk about how you're not necessarily out here looking for friends late in the race, but you don't want to make enemies. And, Jorgensen made a move from the top to the bottom. The 20 they were too wide. Walker was on the inside. There was driver on his outside. But instead of being typically where you expect the guy on the bottom to be on the yellow line, he was in the middle. So the bottom was open, although he was technically on the bottom lane. And Jorgensen tried to go to his inside, and that 20 threw a nasty block on him. If he did not throw that block, I don't think the 88 would have thrown the nasty block on him down the back. Derek Walker may have completed that pass for the race lead into turn 3, and he would be leading this race. So everything has a cause and effect, and it's a bad deal for the 20. It's not what Derek Walker wanted. It's going to eliminate him from this championship, barring any sort of weird situation here at the end of this race. But I think that was more so decided amongst 2 chase guys. Jorgensen didn't need the win to advance, but the 88's not going to roll over for anybody, especially if you block him all the way down to the yellow line. He's going to pay it back, and I think that those two moves, the first move and then the response and the retaliation, is kind of what made the 20s bed.
Yeah, it certainly did, and yeah, there'll be some feedback, I think, after this race, but yeah, the bed has been made. They're going to have to choose the line. This one is, well, Jorgensen Jr. has put himself in the spot he needs, and, well, that has him fairly secure. Of course, he always was, but, yeah, the win just settles the deal. We're looking at one of the biggest contenders, I think, for this championship this season.
And again, we work lap number 93. The lights are still on top of the pace car, so this race is not going to go back into rain flag conditions. Obviously, a disappointment, wanting to see this one go to the end, and I've got no problem if the guys up front are, racing hard and somebody wrecks out. We saw that happen to Oltmans. If it's something like that brings out the yellow, it is what it is. Now, we saw the incident, and it was a racing accident. It's not like anybody was being overly aggressive. They were battling for position. Those guys back there have every right to push on each other, and I know that you're not necessarily thinking, okay, I'm going to give the guy in front of me a little bit extra room so I can let the guys, in the race lead race. But there's something that just leaves a little bit of a bitter taste in your mouth, Rachel, when the wreck comes from 40 seconds to the rear.
Oh, absolutely. When the wreck's all the way right at the back of your pack and the race not hard for 24th place. And it cost you a fantastic finish we could have seen. Exactly, a lap down. And it's a fantastic race we could have seen at the front, which could have changed the results of the playoff. It does kind of stink.
And that's why I said, though, when we were kind of breaking down that this might happen if we get a caution before 4 to go, that this race might end under caution flying conditions, is I was talking about Cattell specifically, but the same thing applies for Walker. This is not a situation where what they used to say is when the two-car tandem was the thing is, do you want to be leading or do you want to be second coming out of turn 4 for the final time? But again, you can't even think of that as an option, because once we get to 5 to go, which is basically right when we came to the line, then this race could end at any moment. And when that yellow flag drops, there's no scoring loops. You're not racing back to the start-finish line. The person who is in front at the moment of the caution wins this race. And Mark Jorgensen Jr. absolutely deserved this victory. He outraced the guys at the end. He outraced them to lap number 91. Who knows what would have happened if we went to 92, 93, or 94. But he outraced him to the end. And that was, as we've said now, probably 3, 4, 5 times. Exciting stuff up front.
Yeah, absolutely exciting stuff. And, well, these guys do it every single week. But that was particularly a fun one, I think, Evan. That was dramatic. But, well, Junior doing what he does best this season. And we've had a good one. This will be the end of the race. And, wow, the interviews will be interesting, I think, to say the least.
We've already seen a couple of drivers offer their congratulations. Montse Weiss pulled up alongside Jorgensen, and now the 7 of Watford is going to as well. Watford going to get a P8 should as well be able to advance to the championship. So we may end up with no drivers going above or below the cut line out of tonight's race. We'll await the official points to come in to confirm that. But Mark Jorgensen Jr. going to be the 3rd different driver in 3 different weeks on the chase grid of 12 to get a win. And while he was going to be good on points, he's going to get that berth into the round of 6. He will have an opportunity to fight for a first career championship. Checkered flag, Mark Jorgensen Jr., your winner tonight from Talladega.
Yeah, certainly is a fantastic one from them as well there. And, well, we're going to the final round now. This is definitely going to be exciting.
Jorgensen going to pick up another career win. He continues to climb the ranks in that regard. And again, it may very well be Oltmans, Chaburko, Jorgensen, Watford, Passini, and Henry. We will hold off. There were a couple of scenarios there where, I think that the honest answer is everybody but McEachin and Berger, you had to get a win. But those drivers, even being 7th and 8th of the points, 14 and 19 points back, still to the point where you can get a good result. But as long as the guy that you're trying to catch doesn't finish outside of the top 15 or 20, it doesn't matter. So it was pretty large of a gap between those in and those out into tonight's race. And I think that because of that, there was a lot of guys who wrecked out early, and if they weren't going to get a win, and their hopes were kind of dashed that early on. It's an unconventional way of getting the burnouts kicked off, but Mark Jorgensen Jr. wins, and we will catch up with him trackside in just a moment. Before we do so, though, we will take one opportunity to step aside, and when we come back to Talladega, we'll talk to your top finishers, Jorgensen, Cattell, and Henry, and we will let you know the 6 drivers that will battle for a Superspeedway Cup Series championship starting next Friday right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. So more to come from Lincoln, Alabama. On the other side, the LSRTV post-race show is next. Welcome back live to the Talladega Superspeedway for the LSRTV post-race show. Following tonight's Talladega 250, Mark Jorgensen Jr. is your winner. We will be trackside with him and the rest of your top finishers in just a moment. First, we'll take this opportunity to take a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results for round number 17. Jorgensen gets the win from starting in third, and he gets the ticket into the next round of the playoff. He will race for a championship starting starting next Friday night here on LSRTV and iRacing Live. But Brandon Cattell almost played spoiler in this one. It started 26th to come home in second. Corey Henry able to come home in third position. We hope to be trackside with those three drivers in just a moment. A tough pill to swallow for Derek Walker, who is not going to transfer into the next round of the championship. Needed a win to do so. Wasn't able to get it. A fourth place is not going to be enough. Chris Bassini just behind him comes home in P5. Ryan Pilant, Brandon Cruz, Monsivice, Rodney Wofford all tried to be factors late in that one. They come home 6, 7, and 8. Ninth position tonight, big mover Daniel Holloway picked up 14 positions over the course of the night, and Greg Hooks rounded out our top 10.
Coming home in the 11th spot today, Scott Warren. Behind him, Andrew Berger. Then it's Paul Savant, Justin Levine, Jason Altmans, Glenn Hedrick, Dan Harrington, Rod Flagg at 18th, Mike Thiel, and Shane McEachin, your top 20th driver.
Also, one lap down is Ramon Evans, but the rest of these drivers out at this race. Seth the Merchant, 22nd position. Gary Champion, 23rd. Kelly Dahl, 24th. And Dwayne Cooper in 25th. 26th for Nathan Davis. 27th is Brandon Chaburko. 28th for Ray Rittenauer. And 29th for Frank Basilia. That is a look top to bottom at your full race results tonight from Talladega. The man of the hour, though, the driver of the number 88 Nationwide Chevrolet, Mark Jorgensen Jr. is your winner tonight from the Talladega Superspeedway. And you could tell that he's excited. And Mark, you didn't technically need the win. We were talking about the scenarios. There were drivers that needed to win to get to the next round. You didn't need it, but I knew that you were not going to simply offer up that spot to somebody else. And that was a wild battle there between 10 and 5 laps to go before the yellow.
Oh, yeah, the closing laps of the race. I mean, I was just riding in behind Derek and, just kind of seeing who was all around me. I mean, I had Altman's behind me. I knew that he was going to do everything he could to work with me, but behind him, had two of Derek Walker's teammates. I really didn't know how that was going to work out. And then saw the 80 machine and Ryan Pilant, kind of doing something with that outside lane. And, I saw Altman's in my mirror, looked like he was going to go to the outside. And, I went up there and I stayed committed. And Altman's, me and him were just kind of off sync, but luckily Cattell was able to get me shoved up there, and I don't know what lap it was, but I mean, there was probably about 5 or 6 of us. We got all kinds of stupid going down the backstretch. I'm surprised we didn't wreck. I think Altman's got a little net code. Me and Cattell was kind of banging doors. I had Derek Walker jacked up going into turn 3, but man, it was nuts. The way that this race was playing out. For the guys on the bottom, that's where they stayed for the most part. So I was kind of committed there at the beginning of the race, just kind of riding in line, hoping for some green flag pit stops. We got them. I mean, me and Altmans did amazing on our green flag pit stop, but we was like 2.5 seconds out in front of the pack, so we were just kind of sitting ducks from that point on. But man, that was some good stuff, man. I really enjoyed winning these races, because it's so goddamn hard. And got the broadcast pulled up there on the computer, seeing the fans' reaction. I mean, I had to put that block on Derek. I mean, that was the race-winning move.
Yeah, that was my next question, because as we always say, you can't wait till the end of this thing. And I feel like you had some justification to throw the block, because he blocked you pretty low on the racetrack a couple of laps before. But I mean, it's a disappointment that we didn't get to race it out to the end. I'm sure that there's a party that wanted to, but you're not going to be shy of taking the win in this one, 4th on the season. But you and Derek going high, going low, blocking each other at times. Brandon Cattell pushing and bumping on doors with you guys. I have to say that was probably one of the most physical and exciting closing lap sequences that we've seen in some time.
And and like I said, that that's pretty cool, because I would never imagine that it was going to get that kind of crazy with a few laps to go. Just how the race was starting to play out. Everybody was just kind of staying on the bottom of the track. Nobody wanted to go to the outside, because the guys that would go to the outside, I mean, they fell to the back. But so to see all that juking and jiving and everybody racing real hard, I knew once I got to the lead that I mean, I felt pretty good about my blocking abilities. I mean, I showed that tonight when I put that big block on Derek, and nothing towards him by any means. I wasn't even focused on what he did, if anything, you know, a few laps prior. I mean, everybody's just so competitive in this league, and I mean, we're trying to do everything we can to win. But as far as it finishing under caution, I mean, I'll definitely take it. I mean, my hands were all sweaty. I knew Cattell back there, you know, he come back from a long hiatus there, so you know he was going to try to do everything he could to win. So whenever I saw that caution, man, that was just like a big sigh of relief. I mean, that pretty cool.
So now you go into the championship. Again, you could have done it quietly. That is not on your agenda, so you do it via a win. And now we have 3 races amongst you and 5 other drivers to battle for a championship. We go to Daytona 07. We come back here to Talladega. We go back to Daytona. There is no win and you are into the next round because it is the final round. We were talking about names like Andrew Berger, who have 4 championships, Seth the Merchants, who have multiple championships, as far as guys who have found a lot of success in this series in the past. I'm not sure if the stat is exactly as I'm going to portray it, but it's probably very close that you're one of the highest winning drivers, you know, in this championship that hasn't gotten the big trophy. So is this going to be the year, and how do you get it done?
Oh man, I hope you didn't jinx me, but
I won't be here, so don't put it on me.
Yeah. I mean, I really hope so. I mean, obviously I didn't need to win to advance. I mean, I felt like basically all I was really worried about was just Chris and Rodney, just kind of keeping close tabs on where they was at the whole entire race. And I knew if I kind of finished either ahead of them that I was going to be in pretty good shape based on points. So, you know, this win does help, but I don't even know for sure all the guys that are going to be in this round of 6. I know it's going to be me, Altmans, and Chaburko because, you know, we won these 3 races, but it's going to be tough, man. Them, you know, I would say that, you know, them 2 guys right there are probably going to be my biggest threat. You know, them 2 guys, they work really, really, really well together. And, you know, I still think we're going to need our teammates, but at some point, you know, you're going to have to kind of do what you can to help yourself to kind of put you in front of everybody. But, I mean, we're going to keep on doing what we've been doing all season. We're going to race like hell, do what we got to do. Hopefully I can just win all 3 races. That'd be pretty cool. But if I can get a win, a couple top 5s, I think I'll be able to hoist that big old shiny trophy at the end of the season.
Earlier on in the season, you won 3 of the opening 6 races, and we hope that you could find the same kind of success late into this one. It wouldn't hurt to get 4 of the last 4, a handful of the last 4. We wish you the best of luck, Mark. Who makes it happen? Who do you want to say hi to?
Always a big shout out to Raw Flag for putting this amazing league on. You know, it's always a blast coming in here on a Friday night and racing with your virtual buddies. You know, racing super hard and super aggressive, and you know, that was just a huge shout out to just the guys, you know, right there in that front pack. You know, like I said, I mean, we was all juking and jiving and bumping and banging. I'm surprised, you know, we didn't cause the caution. So I guess from what I was being told, it's some kind of back marker that brought that final caution out. But, you know, thanks to whoever did it, because it secured my win. LSRTV for the broadcast. All of y'all up there in the booth, Cisco. I mean, I say it every time that I get to talk to y'all. I mean, y'all are top notch, the best of the best on iRacing as far as broadcasting, and Cisco doing what he does. I mean, awesome that we got y'all to be able to broadcast our league. Other than that, Nationwide for sticking with me all season. Got another win for them. My big old right foot for pressing real hard on that gas. My eyeballs watching that mirror, being able to put them big, nasty virtual big blocks on people. And yeah, man, we're just gonna go to the next one, just kick some ass, man. I can't wait.
That is your race winner tonight from Talladega. Mark, congratulations. I am extremely disappointed that I'm not going to see these final 3 races, but it's good news for you, is it means you can win a race and you don't have to deal with talking to me. So that's a kind of a win-win situation for you. So best of luck in the championship. Rachel and the guys are going to be holding it down for this one. Congratulations once again. Go get them.
All right, thanks, Evan. I appreciate it. Can't wait.
Mark Jorgensen Jr. joins his fellow championship competitors, Altman, Chaburko, and Jorgensen, get a win in this round of 12 of the playoff. They all punched their tickets to the round of 6 with that. Brandon Cattell and Corey Henry come home in 2nd and 3rd tonight. Both of them are trackside with Rachel Whiteford, beginning with the driver who comes home in P2, the driver of the 80.
Thank you very much, Evan. Yes, I'm here with Cattell here. This was an interesting one for you, Brandon. As a non-chase driver coming into this one with guys who had to finish in places, How did you feel getting up there at the front, racing the sharp end of this one, and going ultra aggressive?
It was fun. I think that's the kind of the way you got to look at these restrictor plate races every time. I always go kind of just 100%. You want to be in the best position. Track position means everything, especially with this draft package that we have, more than it's ever meant. I've always found that just laying back and just being conservative doesn't work, and just you gotta go for it sometimes. And I guess it worked out tonight. I was laying back in the beginning a little bit, just trying to see if there was going to be a fuel strategy, but from that point on, I just decided to go full throttle with it.
You certainly did. You certainly made that one an interesting one at the very end there. Who makes it work for you in the 80 crew?
Ryan Oates, he was spotting tonight. Jordan Worth, he painted the car. All those great sponsors on there: Robert Tell Roofing, Fat Pro Shops, the Fat Depot, my ex-wife, bunch of those sponsors. Corey Henry, he gave me some free Taco Bell during one of the cautions. So, and Lee Heron too. He's a great motivator.
Well, there you go. That's what it goes to for the number 80, Brandon Cattell, coming home in second place. Next up, we have Corey Henry. We'll talk to him very quickly in this one. Corey, third place tonight. Good finish for you in how things shake up. In fact, I'm looking at my positions, and I think you are good into the final 6. How's that make you feel?
Yeah, we're really happy. Well, we were worried the entire night, especially after the early incident we had. Just kind of do our normal strategy, get taken out early. We'll ride around the back and make our way to the front at the end. And fortunate enough to have that happen again and worked our way into the chase of the next round.
Yeah, you certainly have. When those final rounds coming up, of course, 2 rounds at Daytona, 1 at Talladega, which is going to be a tricky one.
Yeah, we'll just try to keep up the momentum. I can't count how many podiums I've got this season. Still missing out on that win. If we can get it on the last race for the championship, I'll take it.
You certainly will. Who makes it work in the number 12, Corey?
Just want to give a big shout out to everybody at DHI. We've run really hard this year, and we've got 3 in the chase with Chris, Rodney, and myself. Wish we could have got Derek in there. We were trying to get a run and get him to the front. Unfortunately, I think he got eliminated tonight. And I want to thank Greg Hooks. It's good to see Brandon Cattell back out here running. Shout out to him. And congrats to Mark. And last but not least, I want to give a big shout out to my dad. He always watches every week. And thanks for you all putting on the show.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining us. Corey Henry coming home today in the 3rd spot. Evan?
So we can now name the drivers who are going to be fighting for a championship beginning next Friday night. Again, as noted, the drivers in on wins: Jason Oltmans, Brandon Chaburko, and Mark Jorgensen Jr. The drivers who get the win, and or rather get the advancement based on points, are as follows: Chris Piscini, Rodney Watford, and Corey Henry are going to join the aforementioned drivers with wins to make up the 6-driver championship grid into the round of 6 of the playoff. It is consisted of Daytona Circa 07, Talladega, and then Daytona Under the Lights. It's going to be the next 3 Friday nights consecutively on LSRTV. Rachel, you're going to be bringing everybody through this championship, and if tonight was any indication, if the previous now 17 races have been any indication, and if the prior 14 seasons have been any indication, there is no excuse you should not be with us starting next Friday.
Absolutely. You want to say absolutely glued to your TVs and your computer screens every Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for the next 3 weeks, because this is going to be electric. This is going to be 3 weeks of non-stop, no holes barred, super speedway racing action. These guys are pros, and they are going at it like it means something, because this time, it really does.
And I not only want to thank you for joining us on Friday nights, but we've also got plenty of action coming up throughout the week at LSRTV. We will wrap up this week's action tomorrow night with the United States Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. That one is at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Do want to also note that we do have a special event next Tuesday at 10 o'clock as well. We do have the LSRTV All-Star Race organized by the drivers of the NASCAR Peak Free Series. That's going to be right here on LSRTV and iRacing Live as well, so you don't want to miss that one. You can get a full look, though, at what's upcoming here on LSRTV on our website at www.livesimracing.com. And you can also make sure that you stay up to date and don't miss a single broadcast by following us on social media. On Twitter, that's at LSRTV, and on Facebook, you can either search LSRTV or go to facebook.com/LSRTV official to make sure that you get hooked up with that. So until next time, on behalf of the entire team at Live Sim Racing LLC, for the folks behind the scenes, and for the broadcast crew tonight, for Cisco Scarabuzza, Rachel Whiteford, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to congratulate Mark Jorgensen Jr., but also Chris Piscini, Rodney Wofford, Jason Altmans, Corey Henry, and Brandon Chiburko. They will battle for the 15th Superspeedway Cup Series Championship. That starts next Friday night. You do not want to miss that one. We hope to see you then back here on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Good night.